Everybody, we're back to House of Light, and I do apologize for the late start again. I have been trying to get started on time a little bit more frequently, but this has been a tough and very busy week. So, just a reminder, we are enjoying the early beta of House of Light. This is the first DLC for Book of Hours. I believe it is due for release sometime around September. Again, always rely on Weather Factory for the official dates and announcements for that. But they very kindly invited me to participate in the beta, and we are allowed to stream the beta on the condition. So first of all, I need to submit the typo that I found still, although I'm sure other people have as well. There's two things about this broadcast. So number one, I want to be very clear that this is an early, it's an unfinished look at a DLC that is still in progress. And of course, the key about this one is that it's really fun to look at stuff ahead of time, but you never want that to, even have the chance of making people walk away with an unfavorable impression of, of a game or of an expansion. And it is worth saying, it's actually quite admirable that Weather Factory does this. There's quite a few places where I haven't even been able to talk about being in a beta, let alone stream out what's going on inside of it. But with that power comes the responsibility of making sure that people, whether they watch a video a few months or years from now, don't walk away with an impression that this is something not as valuable as what the finished product is going to be. And of course, things can change, right? This is the reason for doing betas like this. So, it's worth noting here that we're enjoying an early look at something which I'm very much looking forward to, but we don't want that to, become sort of a point of, I don't want to say contention, but I don't want it to wind up sort of ruining things for people, just indirectly through presenting it as something that it's not. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention, and I hinted at this a little bit before, is that, betas are also there for people to find problems and report them. And I tend to find, if I save up bug reports for later, that even happened with the typo that I found earlier. If I don't submit bugs more or less when I find them, or if I do that at a time when, or if I try and save them up too much, they don't get done. And I don't ever want to take it for granted that I'm able to come into the stuff. I think it's cool that there can be support in the form of streaming or showing stuff off. But I do want to acknowledge that the most valuable thing right now is to help make this DLC be the best it can be at the end. And so with that in mind, if I run into something that I think I'm not gonna submit, or I need the clarity for, or screenshot or something like that, I am gonna take the time to write the bug report. So just a reminder, we're gonna be continuing on our Magnate playthrough. No new save or anything like that. But let's get a preview of what is in House of Light. In the House of Light is a big expansion woven deep into the game. Here is a spoiler light guide on how to find the new bits. Food. Combine ingredients at the 3 kitchen workstations to create dozens of new dishes. You'll need kitchenware items to find all the recipes. Tip: the spice scales and the spices and savers skill will substitute for each other. A writing case. Once you have received this gift, you can record addresses from the calling cards left by satisfied visitors and write to these visitors to invite them back to the house. Tip: visitors don't arrive instantly. Visitors don't leave calling cards until you've helped them, and some visitors are easier to summon them than others. Salons. Place food and drink in one of the 6 salon rooms, and then use the bell to begin a salon. Do it right, and you will be rewarded with sparkling conversation and lessons. Tip: visitors usually prefer food and drink which matches their primary interest, but some have additional requirements. Beta note: there are about 400 interactions in here, but probably another 100 to go. In particular, the villages don't yet have unique interactions. Manuscripts use paper, ink, and a skill to write a manuscript based on that skill. These manuscripts may be necessary to satisfy thirst for specific knowledge and further stories. Lessons from salons will help you improve those skills and write more useful manuscripts. Tip: you can't reliably control what visitors will discuss. It's a party, not an interrogation, but they'll usually provide lessons related to their shared interests. Further stories. Once you have completed an incident, follow it up in the Tree of Wisdoms. Visitors will need more specific help here, perhaps a book on a specific topic or a specific book. Note, further stories for The Invisible Opera and The Dappled Rose are not yet available in beta. Tip: an affair opens to further stories once all interested visitors have had the opportunity to ask you for help with it. Be aware, in some further stories, it can make a difference who you originally helped. Be careful. This is one part of the game where choices can sometimes have permanent consequences. The Institute. Look for the lighthouse out at sea. When your visitors are ready, use it to establish the true heirs to the Curia of the Isle. Note, only a very limited and incomplete preview of the Institute functionality is available in beta. Further stories outcomes can inspire your visitors to support the Institute for their own reasons. Their nature is constant, but some story outcomes can make them decide to emphasize one agenda over another. All right. I don't fully remember what we were up to when we finished yesterday, so sorry, when I say yesterday, I mean Wednesday. All right, everything is remembered. Hush House endured. So we've got level 3 quenchings and quellings, Sacralamea, Auroral Contemplation, Snow Stories, Anbury, and Lapidary, and Edicts Liminal. I believe we finished an encounter with Father Stanislav. Father Schaller resolved to speak of some of the patrons of the Laertin, Lytirian, hoping to understand a change in the tempo of the world's pulse. Okay. Now, we did just open up this library. I don't think I read the entries though, so let's introduce ourselves to the reading room. Visitors were usually permitted this far into the house and no further. In the days when the librarians commanded the services of the fine takers, visitors were sometimes even left unsupervised. This is also a Curia period room. In the 18th century, a secretive cabal of scholars established the Curia of the Isle to manage Hush House, making it a haven of knowledge until 1896, when a disgraced librarian brought the house to penury. We have a watchful candle, a little portable clarity, the imposing reading armchair. We did read these. Nestle imposingly, a moon footstool, a soft glimmer in the half-light. The reading room desk. The book wheel is a DeWolf heirloom, a gift to Ava DeWolf from her admirer, the adept Franklin Bancroft. The desk and the lectern are much more recent. Steel plaques on both read to Gervenius Van Loren in gratitude for his assistance in the closing of the Winding Stair. E. Abney Hastings, Nocturnal Secretary, 1928. We have the Moon Footstool, soft gold glimmer in the half-light, and the Grand Reading Armchair, Nestle grandly. I forgot the stool, Moon Stool, polished to pallor by the posteriors of past librarians. Tons of books here, and just about from every period. So we have the Reeking Chamber, which is 6 Heart and 6 Sky. We have the Smoking Room, which is 5 Forge or 5 Lantern. The Ruinous Hall, 5 Heart or 5 Scale. Tangle of Thorns, 4 Grail, 4 Nectar. And the Walled Garden, 4 Edge, 4 Nectar. Weed Choke Garden, 3 Heart, 3 Nectar. And finally, the second floor of the Grand Ascent. I think this is the most likely for us to be able to move up with the 5 Winter. All right, so as nice as that is to investigate, we probably actually want to make some progress here. Oh, I will also just refer to, so as far as the mechanics are concerned, we've not yet unlocked a kitchen, so we can't really cook anything, but we do have a couple of desks. So if I take the writing case, we've got Serena and we have Schaller. So I don't think we actually have a way of making any inks yet. But if I wanted, I could add this to the papers, and then, again, the perinculate is only going to give me the edge. Actually, I'm slightly curious. Where do I get the rest of the forge from? I don't think I do. Well, we'll see. I want to play around a little bit with the invites, but Cured, how are you doing? I'm happy you can stick around. Hopefully my broadcasting will be worth it. Okay, we probably want to talk to Mr. Kill, so Mr. Kill always enjoys a chance to catch up with me. I'm also going to take the opportunity to earn a bit of money. So the manual labor, there's not much work on offer in Brandcrude, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Now, in a pinch, I can catalog a bunch of books. I think all of these are a little too tough for me to read on my own in their current state. If I need, I can generate a hindsight and a foresight. Oh, and a revelation. Excuse me. Just sorting out whether or not there's any obvious candidates for me to read. Okay, heart mystery, but it's got keeper skin. Mind you, I should be able to read this with my health, even though it has keeper skin, because it will affect Arab and core, but I don't necessarily need to remove it. You good, got some bartending work on an alpaca farm. Bartending on an alpaca farm, huh? I would not have expected that combination, but... yeah, I'm doing... other than the fact, like, the late start tonight really is just because I'm just working a lot. It's also been very hot, but I just have been really, really wiped. So I did take some time to just rest before I got home. But that just translated to me sort of nodding off while I was reading a book. So, all right. So I think where I'm gonna go with this, we've got Tristan Fett, which can't currently be employed towards opening a given room, I think. So my better option right now, I think there's going to be two things that I do. One, I'm going to wind up talking with Mr. Kill, and we'll probably level him up to use the Grand Ascent. But it also seems to me sensible to catalog the books that I can. So we'll start with the Trist. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly the 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. And because I don't think we have anything else to do with the Fett, I'm going to do the same thing with my consider verb here. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly the 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. All right, another sunny day, so always worth taking a minute to think about what I can do with that information. We do have Sky from Sacra Lamea. We do have Barren Silence Astrolabe. And we have 2 Sky from The Sunny Day. Unfortunately, Traveling at Night Volume 2 requires 6 Sky, so it's not clear to me where I get the remaining points. Sorry, just 1 second here. Okay, long story short, you live in a small town and your partner works at a local bakery. An alpaca farmer goes to her store and asks if they want to do an event bartending at his farm. No one wanted to, but your partner said you'd be up for it, so here you are. Fair enough. I hope it's worthwhile. It's nice of you to do that thing for your friend. And I am looking forward to the stories that come out of it. All right, I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. Now, I should take a look here. So I have, I also have some lantern that I can apply. So it would be good to maybe double check whether or not I can do anything. So opening up the smoking room, I want to maybe get a read on whether or not that's possible. So if we take Reverend Timothy and we give him the Sunny Day, that will bring him up to 4, and then we can give him the mirror scope. With Denzel, we can give him the foresight, but we do not yet have a forge tool. Okay, so in this case here, given that the Sunny Day will enable something for us, I'm going to go to the rectory with my whist, and we will hire Reverend Timothy right away. Now, this is a bit of a shame that I did this with whist, just because it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to have 2 people running around doing this, but I'm going to be able to restore these elements of the soul and such. It's not going to be that big of a deal. So Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversation, prayer, and tea, and he'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church funds. We do appreciate the contribution. Mr. Kill can always spare a few hours to help a friend, so we're going to have a chat with him just to generate some memories. Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry, doesn't mind stopping for a gossip. So I more or less have my work cut out for me in terms of the various elements of the soul and what I want to do with them, but I'm still going to play a little bit of a balancing game. Reverend Timothy, rector of Brandkrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally and the gate and the light. Sorry, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. So right now we're just going to sit on all of the different activities we can do, but we are going to work towards reading the true and complete accounting of the Asclepian mysteries and the roots of the house. We have the Orchid Transfigurations Noon, Magaphine Mysteries. It's in Latin. It is also a heart text, so that's one we can read pretty much right away. We also have the Victory of Crowns. Now this has witchworms in it, and it's a 4-edge mystery. So we do have our oral contemplations. We're beginning to get to a point where we can work with the text, but we want to be careful because this is going to affect my shaft and my whist. I don't think... Oh, I do have a glass of water, so I think I'm going to try and restore... I'll restore the tryst here. A quick nap in a warm bed with something comforting to drink, while the winds chase the clouds and the clouds chase the sun. There's a specific reason why I'm doing this, but we'll wait till the end of the day to sort of explain. It is. I forgot that this was the magnate that I got, actually. I was thinking I was going to do something different. Okay, actually, this tryst is a little different than what I was expecting, but that's fine. Or the hindsight, actually, so. Talk with the rector about the weather. More useful than one might expect, especially in Britain. But yeah, I'm particularly looking forward to the interactions that come up when we start inviting guests over. It does make me want to sort of prioritize being able to get some inks, maybe a bit sooner than I would normally do it. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. All right, so we're going to restore the whist with the threepence first. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. I'm just going to double check that I don't have any rose or moth investigations that I need to do. Nope, we're good. Could you read the diary text? Absolutely. Silverbound journal. I was rich, but something was missing. I am no longer rich, and still something is missing. Hush House is a place of conclusions, and here as librarian I may find mine. The magnate came to the house to conclude a history where they will find peace, but you can complete the game by recording any history. You might wish to begin your studies with the hushery wisdom. The magnate. I've lived too long, but I'm not ready to die. I've tasted everything, and it wasn't enough. Give me silence, give me peace, give me the peace of snow. I do have a specific person in mind about this playthrough, but I probably want to ask them what they think of that playthrough first, rather than speculate. But I think I have someone in mind. If the Lighthouse Institute was a rocket ship, maybe we could call that. Oh, that's interesting. So this is selectable now. I'm going to follow up on that in just a little bit. I can lend my assistants something to help increasing their abilities. So this will bring them up to 5 lantern. And behind the scenes, the Curia of the Isle is long gone. Once it helped preserve a little knowledge and a kind of safety here in Brankrug, and establish the position of librarian. Perhaps it's time for the librarian to return the favor. Help visitors to pursue their goals and develop their agendas. When you found 5 suitable candidates inspired by agendas, you can suggest they found an organization that's a worthy successor to the Curia of the Isle. I will confess, this by far is the part of the game that I am most interested in, for sure. So here we have the treasurer. The treasurer would be responsible for the Institute's finances. This would be a good excuse to ask for an initial endowment, so they should be wealthy. So they need to be inspired. Now, I'm curious. I think, Kieran, you're the most active chatter in here, but if anybody would like to participate, I would like to know what everybody... Oh, it's huge. So I first found out about the Lighthouse Institute through the live action event, which is not run by Weather Factory. It's run by a company called Tricuspid Limited. But one of the groups that you can be a part of in the Locksmith's Dream is the Lighthouse Institute. Other ones would include the Ostorium. There's also the Kersham Review, Oriflammes. There's a few different organizations that people have heard of, but the first I'd heard of the Lighthouse Institute, I think, was part of the Locksmith's Dream. But I'm curious who people off the top of their head would choose. So we've got Mr. Fraser Strathcoyne, philanthropist, collector, former librarian, a complicated man, but not a cruel one. Princess Kokil Emirjibi, artist, socialite, burglar, an unspeakably charming woman with a particular knack for getting adopted. And Grafin Friederike Dagmar Sophia Theresa Helena Begina von Nagelsberg, if you prefer. She doesn't. Or Daymare. So my prior going in on this would be Fraser Strathcoyne. So the Secretary Salvant would lead the Institute's healing and restoration efforts. Now, when I first think of this, I would think of Isan Fekri, but we'll hear the descriptions. Mr. Peter Agdistis, musician, mystic, impresario. Agdistis was a dancer once. One cannot see him without knowing it. The wound in his thigh keeps him from the stage, but his every movement still has the cadence of a prayer. Mr. Eason Fekri, formerly Eason was a healer. He was not human. He was Secretary Salvant of Hush House, but not all the same time. Sorry, not all at the same time. Fussy, kind, famously foul to look upon. And Friar Stanislav John Schaller, priest, diplomat, father, diplomat, gardener, a soft-voiced man with a very steady gaze. Actually, Schaller candidate as well. I was thinking Fekri at the start, but Secretary Vigilant. The Secretary Vigilant would ensure the Institute's safety. Oh, this will be a tough one. So we have Lala Kamia, Huntress, Gourmet, occasional bureau consultant. When it can't be killed and it really needs killing, Kamia is the one they turn to. Miss Azita Bukhara, businesswoman, chessmaster, initiate of the sacred hour, sometimes called the Colonel. And Lieutenant Arthur Thomas Moore, retired, hero, pilgrim, traitor. He'll always be a soldier, but never again can he be only a soldier. And I'm debating, actually, here between Arthur Moore and Azita Bukhara. And actually, it's partially because I've seen Lieutenant Moore more. So, the Secretary Enigmatic. The Secretary Enigmatic would conceal or reveal the Institute's secrets. So we have Dr. Serena Blackwood, one-time librarian of Hush House, one-time librarian of the Invisible Serapeum in Alexandria, and currently what exactly? Serena is close-mouthed, but I know that she has worked with St. Ronwin Trust. By the way, feel free to keep saying who you'd go for, Kieran. And not just Kieran, anybody who wants to talk about the different positions. We've got Consider Corso Reverte, manuscript hunter, legacy scavenger, mercenary. Many would question his ethics, few would deny his acuteness. And Dr. Yvette Southey, playwright, philologist, psychoanalyst, as happy with questions as with answers. The only thing that would make me hesitant is her past departure from Hush House, but I'm probably on the side of Serena Blackwood. And I mispronounced this previously. It's Secretary Nunciant. I was looking up, when you live in a capital, it's really tempting. Like, you just want to see all the different embassies. And then I saw a reference to the Vatican. I was like, oh yeah, no, it's totally Nunciant, not Nunciant. So anyways, Secretary Nunciant. The Secretary Nunciant would communicate and negotiate with other organizations. Oh man, the choices here are interesting. So we have Madame Olympe Bichet, essayist, illustrator, critic, editor of the Karashim Review. Dr. Ibn al-Adim, the Alapine historian, doctor, and above all, traveler. The good doctor has been associated with all but one of the librarians of the Watchman's Tree. He was even Secretary Nunciant of Hush House for a little while, but he's never been on good terms with the Suppression Bureau. And then we have Mr. Zachary Wakefield, marksman, detective, renegade. He has always been a quiet man, but since he left the Suppression Bureau, he has grown even quieter and terribly still, except for his fingers and for his eyes, always in restless motion. I am, again, slightly inclined to Ibn al-Adim here. However, it seems to me that if I'm going for Fraser, Serena Blackwood, and Ibn al-Adim, I'm really just trying to reconstitute the Curia as opposed to the Lighthouse Institute. So perhaps I may want to reconsider the paths. And I know my changes are definitely going to adjust based on the inspirations. So finally, records, the librarian will record who and where. So this is exciting. Let's get back to work. So I should be getting my health back before too long. I'm going to run out of time to get everything I want done. This tool has boosted their aspects appropriately. So we're going to open up the smoking room with Reverend Timothy. A tarnished brass sign on the door clearly reads smoking room. Rags of very old smoke sway restlessly, hazing the room beyond, what remains of the protections Van Loren once placed on it. And yet, still no sign of a fire. I think that's probably a development note, Kieran, as I like pointing out to folks. Early beta definitely shouldn't be considered representative of the finished product. All right, let's load him up with the hindsight. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. I deserved a little quiet time. Okay, so I was originally going to do something else with the tryst, but circumstances have changed, so let's just use it to catalog some more books. Catalog a baronial period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's baronial period, roughly the 1500s to 1700s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. And better now. All right, so once more. It is summer. I'm sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Unfortunately, I wanted to do that with my health, not the whist, so I might have closed the door on reading the text, but that's fine. We can do that tomorrow. All right, memories don't last long outside books, but it's made the difference for the day. So last thing I'm going to do here, we're going to talk with Mr. Kill about the whist. We'll watch for what lies ahead. Boosts Winter and Lantern. Now we're probably just going to hang on to the foresight today. Actually wondering... Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for me to try and restore the health. I think I'm just going to use this whist to earn a little more money. Now I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. Another heart text. All right. The other line. And I am quite partial to Samuel Savage's works. So I'm going to divide the... I normally have a can read, might be able to read, too tough to read section. I think I'm going to be running out of room pretty quickly, but we'll work with what we've got. All right, lots of things in here. The Westcott room. By God, sir, we will have no cigars in the library, and we shall have no house without a smoking room. Dr. Ambrose Westcott, 1734 to 1797. Again, lots of items inside here. So, Ambrose desk. Ambrose did most of his work downstairs in the foundry and kitchen, or upstairs in the laboratory that later became the Flood Gallery. But it was at this desk that he composed The Temptations of Architecture and wrote long cross letters to the Times about the flaws of the British Constitution. We have a vase of carnations, bright flowered ornament. The strategist's lamp, purchased by Governor Collars from a complicated general after the Great War. We have ashertine, which is a very high power lantern ink. A quire of paper, creamy smooth, eagerly awaiting ink. Domaine Reveline, a glass. The Revelines abandoned their lands, and yet someone is still making this wine. We have a small candlestick, simple elegance. We have the bust of Ambrose Westcott. This bust is cast in brass. I believe we already have the slot for him. Doesn't say... I thought it said which librarian he was, but in this case we've got who often purified was often not pure. First librarian. All right, moving on. We have Ambrose's favorite chair, somewhat pocked with cigar burns. The inviting footstool. How many home from the storm propped their feet here and gazed into the fire? Sorry, I gotta sneeze again. Excuse me. We have the Cyprian's lamp, a curio brought back from one of Serena Blackwood's trips to Greece. A tall candlestick, elegant simplicity. Small candlestick, simple elegance. A cranial tchotchke. We all of us come to this condition in the end, but not all of us are fortunate enough to be lovingly buffed and fixed carefully to a stylish wooden stand. The Mansus. There have been many attempts to depict the House of the Sun. This, by the visionary painter known only as the Magyar, is the best known. It's signed and dated. If it's really the original, it must count as one of the great treasures of the house. We've got a ton of books. This is a repeating theme here. And we have some stuffed heads. So Philemon, Ambrose Westcott liked to name his hunting trophies after former rivals whom, he said, his trophies resembled. Tavish and Finian. And of course we also have Hokebald. Now this also opened up another possibility for us. So there's the web-snared room, which has 6 hearts, 6 rose, or 6 sky. Difficult for us right now, but still worth investigating if the opportunity comes up. My assistant and I will be prudent. Okay, I'm still going to talk with Mr. Kill to see if we can get some interesting lessons, but I think we're just going to hang on to the foresight. So Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry doesn't mind stopping for a gossip. Better now. So again, we'll turn this into money. I think that's going to be it in terms of restorations and... actually, hang on. Yeah, no, it's better for me to save the book for the next day. So I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There is no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. I think I also forgot to mention the Houndsgall, but... So, Lapsang Suchong, named for an enigmatic minor deity whose charge is the healing of burns, and Houndsgall, books written in Houndsgall, are more likely to return to their owner or to one to whom they have been legitimately sold, an ink of containment. Dead men don't tell no bloody tales. Well, who'd listen? So we have time. There's nothing else for us to do today except go up to the next level of the Grand Ascent. So in this case, we'll just make the most of the day as far as exhausting our different elements of the soul go. We haven't placed Serena Blackwood yet just because we don't yet have the pedestal that she'd be on. We've got... I think this is Natalia Brulot, and this is Ava. Ooh, Storm Memory. I'm wondering if I want to hang on to that, maybe. The Grand Ascent, 2nd floor. It is unexpectedly difficult to raise my foot to the last step before the landing. Leaf shadows drift across my sight, and the windows hiss and rattle. I have heard that Gervenius van Loren, last librarian before me, was skilled at the forbidding of ways. So I may want to hang on to that Storm just because it makes it easier for me to read some of these other books. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers through the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. So I think that's it for the day. This will actually be one time I'm willing to speed the game up a bit. And I don't normally like doing this for Book of Hours because I think the mood is very much a part of it. But I also know that we have some new content to get into, which it's easier when, you know, I sort of speed through some of the downtime to be able to see that. So, the second floor. By long tradition, each Baron Brankrug had their image set in a niche in the Grand Ascent. The Curia of the Isle continued the tradition for their librarians. We have the 6th librarian of the Curia of the Isle, a niche with a plaque, who brought a key long lost. That's Willem Harries. We've got the 5th librarian of the Curia of the Isle, who was denied victory though never defeated. Am I missing something on Brulot? So no, I think it's Brulot here, then Strathcoyne. 8th librarian of the Curia of the Isle, who served 2 masters best he could, and who dwells still in the 3-flowered tree. I very foolishly forgot to sleep on the storm. That's my bad. I was too busy looking at other things. All right. Well, that's a shame, but you know what? I'll take it and we'll make the most of the day nonetheless. So, first things first, let's actually start reading one of these heart texts. Now, I can sort of direct my studies a little bit. So if I want Megaphene Mysteries, I can read the Orc of Transfiguration's Noon. And if I want Preliminal Meter, I can read The Other Line. Alternatively, I can get Weaving and Not Working by reading The True and Complete Accounting, The Asclepian Mysteries, The Roots of the House. I think I'm actually going to start with that one just because it's a little easier for me to forget. So I can master this mystery, enough heart to match mystery heart. I am going to bring in Mr. Kill. We need him for memories. Mr. Kill always enjoys a chance to catch up with me. Just double checking here. So if we have 5 winter, we can open the 3rd floor again. So, all right, have a good one, Kieran. And we'll earn some money again. So eventually I want to level up Mr. Kill and use this whist again, but I might as well make some money while we do this. Finally, I'm going to use my Fete and my Trist to catalog some books. This doesn't mean that I'm not going to use them for other things, but at this point I just want to kind of get through my queue. So let's move on. I think I'll start with the reading room. Okay, another sunny day, so nothing really to work with from the weather. Tamer of tree, a worker of woods, a consigner of cadavers. He's even been known to try his hand very diffidently at poetry. I should remember that we're probably due for an offer from Oriflammes before too long. Okay, Vincent's Minglings. The metallurgist and skysmith Everett Vincent speaks of the sacred alloys, the alloys eternal, the alloys sufficient, the alloys intendant. So we're very close to being able to read this book. So I can generate a foresight, which is good for 2 forge. And I can use Anburian Lapidary to bring it up to 3. But I'm currently missing a forge tool. Now there are forge tools. So for instance, if we get the mortar and pestle, if we can get the spanners, there's a number of different ways that we can get the forged. But right now, this is something that we're coming up short on. I'll put this on the shelf, the readable shelf, because I don't think it's going to be that hard for us to achieve. But I am going to have to just keep it set aside. We also have the Leonine Tantra. In the most notorious translation of the Leonine Tantra, Ashley Phillips is listed as the translator, but their existence is explicitly denied in the prologue. This confusion is characteristic of books which mention the great hooded princes. So for that, it's going to take some effort on our part, but I can't rule it out. Okay, so we're going to be wanting to restore the elements of the soul over the course of the day, but right now, this is just a matter of working through the heart at the moment. All right, dead men don't tell no bloody tales. Well, who'd listen? So fear, the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Lovecraft. So if I have anything with scale that I want to do, now would be a good time. We need 5 for the Ruinous Hall. And we need... actually, that's it. So yeah, scale's not going to do much for me tonight. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers to the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. It is summer. I am sitting outside the bench at the, I'm sitting outside on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. There's a couple things that I'm going to be doing here. Ooh, this gossip is tempting. Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry doesn't mind stopping for a gossip. So, there's a this has changed the plan a little bit. So what I'm going to do here, with Mr. Kill, I want to level him up to 5 with the Grand Ascent. But, seeing as I have a gossip now, there's a couple of options that I have. So first thing I want to do is just double check that I don't have any lower level rose mysteries that I need to handle. Well, that's one that I already have read, so yeah, we're good there. So when it comes to rooms to open, we do have 1 rose. I want to double check that I don't have anything else. Oh, yeah. It's the abandoned bedroom. So Fet will give me 2 rows. Gossip will give me 2 rows. And we know that the barber, which is a summer visitor, will get me 1 rose as well. So what I want to do here is I'm going to want to restore my Fet next and hire the barber. And even if that means that we don't wind up giving Mr. Kill the whist that we need. Right now, we've just been using him for memories, so there's no loss because we haven't actually committed that whist yet. Okay, this solace is also helpful in terms of getting certain books read, but I think I'm going to keep that overnight. Peace after trouble. Also, if I want to be able to do some more things... Hello, Olmsted. How are you doing? Sorry, Olmsted, 424th of their name. A true and complete accounting of the Asclepian Mysteries of the Roots of the House. Descriptions of the Asclepian Mysteries produced by one Riley Gressa from supposedly a much older text. It's unlikely to be genuine, but it makes reference to the house without walls and its wood right there in the prologue. This is very obviously not an antique text, but at the very least it has been badly mutilated. But it contains substantial intriguing material, especially a persuasive comparison of the house without walls, without doors to the human body with its many portals. The direction of death is down, the book explains. The peacock door has been considered a rent or an abrasion, but in some respects is more like a mouth, if not a more treasured point of entry. Discussions of the doors include a rite which may conjure creatures through those doors, though key incantations are missing. Well, you're in luck because this is an early look at the DLC that is coming out, House of Light. So again, it's an incomplete beta, but I am definitely eager to see some of the new features. We actually got a quick look at what some of the I'll just say impulse because we're not going to be putting that beside anything. But yeah, we actually got a quick look at some of the Lighthouse Institute mechanics, which I am interested in. All right, we're going to learn weaving and not working right away. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. And better now. All right, so for starters, let's hire the barber. Assistance from a traveling barber. In summer, the barber comes by to keep the villagers kempt. A shilling will buy his services. Barbers offer moth and a little rose. Alternatively, add a soul card to find rarer guests who might be seeking employment. Barber's assistants. The itinerant barbers of the South Country keep you clean and kempt, make sure you don't miss out on any news or gossip, and arrange matters so you're not too troubled by vermin. Snip, snip. And we will bring back the Fete now. Alright, another impulse. So we're going to drop off Mr. Kill here. We're going to add the gossip to the barber's assistants right away. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. So under other circumstances, I would have used the Solace to read another one of these heart texts, but I sort of know that we're getting a bit... I think I'm at the point where I can just save that and use it for the next day, especially seeing as we've got a few more heart-based skills. So weaving and not working. He. Valentine DeWolf. Okay, so we need to wait for the Rose to come back, or the Fete to come back. I could encourage my assistant, work with them, or for a little while exalt them. I could also just listen to whatever they have to say. Better now. All right. So I need to make a decision at this point. I can go for the easy money and nah, that's boring. I've learned something, or perhaps just remembered it. Alright, so let's level up the barber. Actually, you know what? I think I messed up. Because there's no way I'm going to be able to turn that into a hindsight in time. So that's fine. I'll use that to catalog a book, and then I'll use the whist to earn some money, and we will still be ahead in terms of cash for the day. We won't use Mr. Kill to open up any more rooms, but that's fine because we're still going to be opening up the abandoned bedroom. My assistant and I have an unspoken understanding. Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry, doesn't mind stopping for a gossip. The abandoned bedroom. A crooning whisper haunts this room. It must have once been luxurious and will be again once it is restored, but I will need help to lay the restless presence that drifts here. Better now. Okay, so we'll use the whist to make some money. I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. And then we will use the tryst to catalog another book for the day. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly the 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. And an intuition. So that would have helped with the gossip as well, but... The calm before the storm is the European Cup, England versus Spain. Good luck to England. Oh, on Sunday. Okay. I was gonna say, it's like, so, I am especially surprised that it's so quiet, but I've been hanging out in the wrong places. All right. So Flayed Tantra. Put this on the shelf. Actually, what I'll do is I'll move Traveling at Night onto this shelf. And there's not a whole lot more for me to do with Mr. Kill at this point, but we'll just keep chatting. Now, taking a look at what we have here. Oh, that's right. This is the new update. So we have a phonograph much earlier. So Thyrza's phonograph. Thyrza Blake invited a nameless friend, according to Brancrook tradition, her sister, to Hush House to recover from an illness. Thyrza was uncharacteristically secretive about the whole business, perhaps because her own solicitude embarrassed her. She cooked her guests' meals herself, read to her in the afternoons, and purchased this phonograph so that her guest could listen to Viennese opera. So this has Knock, Moon, Heart, and Sky. And then we do have the Velletri interviews, which are a 6 heart... Oh. Yep. 6 heart text. So I'm thinking here, I suppose at the very least, so we've got Quenchings and Quellings, which is worth 3. Solace is worth 2 already. So we can probably read the Velletri interviews tomorrow, no matter what. Not quite how I was planning on using the day, but not a bad way either. So web-snared room, we need a little bit more, I think. I'll see what Mr. Kill gives me before I commit the Solace. Okay, another fear. But yeah, I think in this case, because the Velletri interviews are a more difficult text for me to read, we'll probably start with with that, and then move on. Now, I didn't actually read the description of the room. Severn Chamber. In the days of the DeWolfs, this chamber was reserved for the heir of the house, though it was originally furnished for Hafren, the woman of uncertain lineage who became Baron Walter's mother and bequeathed her unusual pale eyes and hair to Walter and his descendants. We already described the phonograph, knighted chair, solid, comfortable, oddly unobtrusive. A fringed lamp, a cozy little nightlight. Ashertine. Lies written in Ashertine tend to fade or be misspelt. It's legible in the dark, an ink of revelation. The veiled goddess Lapsang Suchong, a cup of it, named for the enigmatic minor deity whose charge is the healing of burns. Another fringed lamp. Abduction, salvation, either interpretation is plausible. Moth orchid scented candle, a candle scented with moth orchid, and the bedside candle holder to comfort you through the dark hours. Okay, so I gotta wait for the heart to we gotta wait for the Solace to become available, but we'll still talk with Mr. Kill. Okay, Rain. Now I want to take a minute here and make sure that I'm not missing out on anything important. So with Rain, I've got a few different options here. If I want to try and bring someone up to a point where they can open up the walled garden, I believe we can pour some dandelion wine and get them to open these. Oh, and we also have the infirmary, assuming that I can get that rose available. Alternatively, I can employ the heart. So yeah, I think what I might try and do is employ the heart and the health, but only after I finish with the Velletri interviews. Right, I need the solace first. Mr. Kill can always spare a few hours to help a friend. So I'm actually going to talk with him about the rain first. More useful than one might expect, especially in Britain. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. So, here... it's best to prioritize the tough stuff so I don't need to worry about it later. Heart onwards. I can master this mystery. Enough heart to match mystery heart. Now I should have been making use of the sweet bones right at the start, so... I'll have to catch up a little bit on that, but it's not too hard. I also should be spending a little more time learning about the different things that I can craft with my skills, but I have been a bit focused on books lately. Let's take advantage of the weather while it lasts. Now, we're not going to get the other part of the nectar until I get my health back, so we're going to keep talking with Mr. Kill about memories. And the deal's going to be this. If I wind up getting some memories that are helpful for unlocking more parts of the house, I'm going to prioritize, or sorry, for reading books, I'm going to read those books. And if I get memories that are more helpful for unlocking parts of the house, I'm going to hire people. So the Fete and the Tryst are now going to be transformed into something that I maybe use at the end of the day so that I can, like basically, I can make sure that they're used before sundown to catalog rather than catalog at the very beginning. It's already really clear that we have some books that I want to read. Okay, foresight. It's always helpful to just double check. So if I want to hire Denzel, that foresight will be helpful. The catch is I need an element of the soul to be able to hire Denzel. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers to the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. It is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Presumably the cheese is soaking up the weather. I'm a little surprised we haven't heard from Oriflammes yet. So this is always one worth looking at because of the knock aspect. The challenge is I just don't have anything else to bring us to the point where we can read Traveling at Night. So Traveling at Night, I could combine the Edict's Liminal, I could combine the Stolen Secret, but then we're still too short on the knock. But we'll figure it out. All right. The Velletri interviews interrogation of a man named Lacombe, a former Nocturnal Branch inspector now identified as terminally robogoid. Lacombe is not especially lucid, and the state called robogoia evidently includes a malady of the lungs which causes coughing fits. He weakens audibly over the course of the interrogation. He is questioned about the disposition of various unsanctioned items recovered from a nocturnal branch raid on a castle at Ortuccio in the region of the Fucine Marshes. He is, however, defiant as well as incoherent. Lacombe insists that the items have been put to good use. He derides Nocturnal Branch as the lackeys of Calyptra. Alarmingly, during the last few minutes of the interrogation, he begins to insist that his interrogator should burn the library. He waxes enthusiastic about the fire he wants to see, leading to a final coughing fit, after which the interview abruptly ends. Okay, so that's good for stolen secrets, and we get edicts inviolable. So I should find a special place for this one. So these shelves are a little little too useful. Sorry, I'm not trying to get into character here. This'll do for now. And we can commit this right now, or we can not commit this, but learn it. Use this listen to acquire a new skill. Better now. Alright. We'll restore the health. Just a reminder, this is so that I can get the nectar for Mr. Kill to open up the weed-choked garden. We're going to still talk with Mr. Kill, though, because if we get a chance to hire a barber, we can use that to open up the infirmary. We do have the option of using the occult scrap, but I figure it's probably not a bad idea to hang on to the occult scrap in hopes of getting something a little more attractive. Another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. Edicts inviolable, the precepts of occlusion and dissolution. Their jealous enforcement is the nature of Calyptra. So again, a reminder that if I want to perform more actions, I can actually start committing these things to the Tree of Wisdoms. But the catch is that I don't yet have a plan in terms of leveling these things up. So, and it would be nice to kind of, if I'm going to be making some decisions in terms of if I commit something in the earlier branches of the Tree of Wisdoms, I'm less likely to want to level it up unless it gives me something really good. So I'm holding back a little bit right now. It's not going to be like last time where I don't commit anything until the last possible moment. But what I'm trying to do right now is get a little bit of a read on what's available to me, and just in terms of being able to, really just I'm really just trying to minimize the number of actions it takes me to get certain things. So for instance, if I want to put up a really high level of edicts inviolable, I don't want to commit that right away. If on the other hand, I know I'm not really going to use it, well, okay, I might put that into preservation or horomachistry, particularly if it winds up getting me an element of the soul that I need. Okay, this gossip is very good news. It's a little close to the time, but I think we should be able to get everything we need by the end of the day, so better now. We'll hire the barber right away. In summer, the barbers come by to keep the villagers kempt. A shilling will buy his services. I could help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. Okay, I think we're also at a point where I can start cataloging some books. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's baronial period, roughly the 1500s to 1700s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Oh, that's very helpful. Dead men don't tell no bloody tales, but who'd listen? So we're going to talk to the barber about the gossip. This is to bring them up to throw... What was I thinking? We use the fet. Oh no, we need to use both. Okay, that might complicate it with Mr. Kill. So actually, with that in mind, we're going to we'll get the win that I know that I can with the health, and then we're going to use the Solace and the fet back to back. I don't think we're going to make it though. Yeah, so that's the minute marker. Sadly, I wasted money on the barber. Alright, the Carmine Petal Revisited, an apparently theoretical project proposed by Lionel of the Society of the Noble Endeavor, which might permit the imprisonment of a renegade forge name, a heavily revised edition of an earlier and even more controversial work. So what I think I'm going to do here, I'm going to talk about the gossip with the barber on the chance that I'm going to be able to... Oh, you know what? I think I can still make it. Because I just need to start it within the minute. I don't necessarily have to... Alright, from what I can make out of the garden beyond, it must have been very peaceful, but now it's neglected and overgrown. So, talk about the gossip. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. So yeah, 30 seconds, and then again, it'll take longer than the minute to have them leveled up, but I should still be able to get the fet. So I'm glad I didn't freak out. Still haven't made it to the higher level of the Grand Ascent, but... Perhaps we shared a dream. Night has fallen, dawn will come soon. Now, I have a couple of ways that I can make my life a little easier for tomorrow's books. We'll probably wind up... we're probably going to wind up cataloging fewer books tomorrow, but I will likely be able to... Oh, you know what? We can do even more with the barber tomorrow. But I imagine I'm going to be able to get a couple of heart books read when all is said and done. So, the Physic Garden. The nuns of the Knot planted this garden of healing herbs in the Dawn period. The town of Regensburg and Gideon de Wolf both expanded it, and the Curie of the Isle tended it. Even the branch and the bureau made use of it in the grim days that Brandkrug served as a prison. So, oh, this is new. The picnic in the Physic Garden, the peace of flowers, the murmur of leaves. Here one might have a picnic, but only in spring or summer. So we can invite up to 3 guests. So visitor, villager, someone from Brandkrug has accepted the invitation to the house. You can only invite 1 villager at a time to the house. This would be a visitor. Okay, so we can have up to 4 visitors and a villager. And secretary persistent. In Hush House, an empty place is often traditionally left at the table for Rowena, protectress of Hush House, and once secretary persistent of the Curia of the Isle. If you one day propose a successor for Rowena, seat them here. Hang on, we have a secretary persistent. I didn't even... Now that's interesting. Okay, so I am looking forward. I'll maybe make a mental note. It would be nice to start. It would be nice to start with a picnic in the Physic Garden, seeing as it was the first one that I unlocked. We've got a comfortable garden chair, amateurly varnished, characterfully stained. We have the garden, cat's claw in spring, trumpeter's lily in summer. Rarer plants might flourish in Numa. Restful garden chair. Sit here and listen to the trees grow, or the leaves fall. Preferences differ. We also have Ross Craggan whiskey, 2 glasses and a bottle, and that's good for 2 rows. So you'll notice that the barber is already up to level 5, which means that the web-snared room is an option for us to be able to access now. But our focus right now is the infirmary, unless I have another rose that I forgot about. I don't think I do. Careless visitors have tracked in mud through the door, and the windows have been open to the elements for years. Now, I was hoping to get a refill to my tea, so what we're going to do here, I think, while we wait for the next day, I'm going to take a very small break. When we get back, I do still need to unlock the kitchen, so I don't think we're anywhere near I'm hosting a salon yet, but we will. I mean, I think we made some decent progress in terms of the house over the course of these 2 playthroughs, and I am reasonably happy that we've got a sort of broader range of skills to work with. Algrins, thank you very much for resubscribing, and you're on a streak. I will honor your resubscription by running off. But you won't get hit by the ads, at least. Good to see you. I hope you are looking forward to some more House of Light. Actually, you know what? Because there's a few more people here, we're going to go over the Lighthouse Institute material again, so that'll be something to look forward to. And again, we have a clear idea in terms of a few different rooms that we can unlock, and what's nice is that we know this room I guess it would be this room. No, sorry, this room will give me access to more tools that I can use for my for some of my different readings and that. But anyways, all of that will be something that we take care of after I finish boiling some hot water and drowning my tea bag again. So we'll see you all in a little bit. Okay, thank you everybody for your patience. Let's get everything back up. So, before we go on to the next day, I just wanted to highlight, so when I first played this, I don't know if there was something about how I was playing or if I missed something, but I tried clicking on the lighthouse and nothing seemed to happen, and that's obviously different now. So, behind the scenes, the curia of the Isle is long gone. Once it helped preserve a little knowledge and a kind of safety here in Brandkrug, and established the position of librarian. Rowena, secretary persistent of the curia, a complex entity who has long protected Hush House, is both exhausted and compromised, and so it is time for the librarian to return the favor and establish a successor to the curia. Help visitors to pursue their goals and develop their agendas. When you found 6 suitable candidates inspired by agendas, you can suggest they found an organization that's a worthy successor to the Curia of the Isle. Now, for those of you who are here from the start, I must apologize. We're going to be repeating this. But I am kind of curious how people feel about this. So there are a number of different roles. Some of these you'll actually recall from other parts of the house. But the roles that we can fill. So, the treasurer. The treasurer would be responsible for the Institute's finances. This would be a good excuse to ask for an initial endowment. So, they should be wealthy. Our options are Mr. Fraser Strathcoyne, philanthropist, collector, former librarian, a complicated man, but not a cruel one. Princess Kokil Amirjibi, artist, socialite, burglar, an unspeakably charming woman with a particular knack for getting adopted. And Daymare, Grafin Frederike Dagmar Sophia Teresa Helena Begina von Nagelsberg, if you prefer. She doesn't. So, of these 3, I'm curious what chat's feelings are for the most appropriate treasurer. Moving on, while you answer that, we will read the Secretary Salvant. The Secretary Salvant would lead the Institute's healing and restoration efforts. And the candidates here are Mr. Peter Agdistis, musician, mystic, impresario. Agdistis was a dancer once. One cannot see him without knowing it. The wound in his thigh keeps him from the stage, but his every movement still has the cadence of a prayer. Mr. Eason Fekri. Formerly, Eason was a healer. He was not human. He was Secretary Salvant of Hush House, but not all at the same time. Fussy, kind, famously foul to look upon. And Father Stanislav John Schaller, priest, diplomat, gardener, a soft-voiced man with a very steady gaze. Again, if you have opinions on the treasurer or the secretary salvant, feel free to mention them in chat. The secretary vigilant. The secretary vigilant would ensure the institute's safety. So here we have Lala Kamia, huntress, gourmet, occasional bureau consultant. When it can't be killed and it really needs killing, Kamia is the one they turn to. We have Mrs. Zita Bukhara, businesswoman, chess master, initiate of the the Scarred Hour, sometimes called the Colonel, and Lieutenant Arthur Thomas Moore, retired, hero, pilgrim, traitor. He'll always be a soldier, but never again can he only be a soldier. The Secretary Enigmatic would conceal or reveal the Institute's secrets. We have Dr. Serena Blackwood, one-time librarian of Hush House, one-time librarian of the Invisible Serapeum in Alexandria, and currently what exactly? Serena is closed-mouthed, but I know that she has worked with the St. Ronwin Trust. Senior Corso Reverte, manuscript hunter, legacy scavenger, mercenary. Many would question his ethics, few would deny his acuteness. And Dr. Yvette Southey, playwright, philologist, psychoanalyst, as happy with questions as with answers. Secretary Nunciant. The Secretary Nunciant would communicate and negotiate with other organizations. Madame Olympe Bichet, essayist, illustrator, critic, editor of the Karashim Review. Dr. Ibn Aladim, the Alapine, historian, doctor, and above all, traveler. The good doctor has been associated with all but one of the librarians of the Watchman's Tree. He was even Secretary Nunciant of Hush House for a little while, but he's never been on good terms with the Suppression Bureau. And Mr. Zachary Wakefield, marksman, detective, renegade. He has always been a quiet man, but since he left the Suppression Bureau, he has grown even quieter and terribly still, except for his fingers and for his eyes, always in restless motion. So these are the roles that we will be filling when the time comes. Also, I thought there was a spot for the journal. There we go, records. So obviously we're way off yet, but I am definitely interested in seeing how that turns out. So let's move on to the next day. I've preserved a memory right now. Daybreak, memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. So I'm going to do something a little bold here. I'm going to hire the traveling barber first. Now we have no guarantee that we're actually going to be able to use this barber, but I'm going to give it a shot. So in summer, the barber comes to keep the villagers kempt. A shilling will buy his services. Barbers offer moth and a little rose. Alternatively, add a soul card and you might find rarer guests who might be seeking employment. While we do that, I will start reading a book. Now, I have a little bit of an advantage here for one of them. I can use quenchings and quellings on either the other line or the Orchid Transfiguration's Noon. So I think what I'll do here, we'll read the other line at this desk and we'll use quenchings and quellings. So we don't need any memories for that. So I can master this mystery, enough heart to match mystery heart. And then what we can use is the tryst. We can do that in the reading room, which allows for heart. So I can use weaving and not working and the solace that I get to read Orchid Transfiguration's Noon. In summer, the barber comes to keep the villagers kempt. A shilling will buy his services. The itinerant barbers of the South Country will keep you clean and kempt, make sure you don't miss out on any news or gossip, and arrange matters so you aren't too troubled by vermin. Snip, snip. Perhaps we shared a dream, boosts rose and moth. So I'm basically all in on the barber today, but I think this should pay off, so. Could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. Now, I don't think there's anything I can do with the clouds. I just don't think we have much in terms of moth or moon texts. Yeah. So clouds will just sort of sit still. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. So, as promised, we will use weaving and not working, tryst and solace. Heart, onwards. I can master this mystery. All right, now let's read about what we unlocked. We have the infirmary. In the 15th century, Natan of Regensburg came to Brandkrug. The brothers of St. Brendan's granted sanctuary, but they would not permit a Jew and his family to live on abbey grounds. Still, they built this tower for him to dwell in and practice his healing arts. It has changed greatly since that time, but a place of healing it remains. We have another basket of towels. It was basket of laundry before, but this is the first basket of towels. A suitable companion for bathing. We have the guest bed infirmary, clean white sheets, and the unmistakable military ping of a steel bed frame. Vase of lilies, an elegant ornament. Ruby-wise ruin, a ruddy liqueur run from flowers, even when the flowers aren't red. We have TRN drinking cocoa, TRN limited drinking cocoa. TRN Spices and Savors Department markets this as the secret sacrament of the last Inca. Serpent milk, it does almost look like milk, and it is drinkable, but don't give it to cats or babies. The watchful potted plant, not everything needs eyes. A pale mommet, a gently twitching little cloth doll with melancholy button eyes and a frill of colored ribbons. Musgrave de Wolf, this bust is carved from wood. Cherry? I'm trying to remember. I believe it was Musgrave was the one who was mocked more than merited, but I've actually forgotten this one. Vesper, lovely to see you. Thank you very much for the host. For those of you who don't know, I actually found Vesper through his stream of Cultist Simulator. So Cultist Simulator is the earlier game in the Secret History series. So for those of you maybe unfamiliar with this, this is a game from an independent developer called Weather Factory. So they're based in the United Kingdom. And this particular game is a sequel to their first game called Cultist Simulator. Now, Cultist Simulator was a very successful game, and one that I certainly really enjoyed, but it actually wound up sort of launching this franchise known as the Secret Histories setting. So as far as the Secret Histories are concerned, the official games are Cultist Simulator. There is a tabletop experience called The Lady Afterwards. Now you can get a PDF version of it on Steam as well as drive-through RPG. But the real intention behind this was to sort of sell this deluxe box set. So if you want to sort of get the proper experience, I suppose, this would be, you can either go on their Etsy store, or I think the Mysterious Package Company also sells a version of this. And it comes with sort of candles, and we actually have a little bit of the beta content, Vesper, so I know some people may get a little frustrated with me reading this again, but I think this is something that you're going to be interested in. Yeah, sorry, I'll finish the spiel for Secret Histories. So in addition to the tabletop experience, this is the most recent release from Weather Factory, Book of Hours, and I'm currently playing an early beta of their first DLC for this game, House of Light, which is going to be adding sort of guests and parties and cooking, and an institution known as the Lighthouse Institute. But before I do that, I did just mention that Vesper has done Cultist Simulator. I suspect he will be doing House of Light in the future as well. He also very kindly gifted the Ace Attorney series to the stream, so we are going to be playing that at some point in the future, although we're obviously not going to be playing that while we have the House of Light beta to look forward to. But thank you very much for the host. And what were you playing? Okay, so as far as beta content is concerned, we've got a couple of things here. So first of all, we've got the affair of the God in the Wood. We've acted with Father Stanislav. But we've also unlocked the first room where we could host a salon. So the Physic Garden. So there is a bell that's been added here. A picnic in the Physic Garden. The peace of flowers, the murmur of leaves. Here one might have a picnic, but only in spring or summer. So we can add guests. So in this case, you can have one villager. Final Fantasy XIV, very nice. So you can have up to one villager, and then you can have 4 other visitors. And then the Secretary Persistent. In Hush House, an empty place is traditionally left at the table for Rowena, protectress of Hush House and once Secretary Persistent of the Curia of the Isle. If you one day propose a successor for Rowena, seat them here. So this is where you can sort of put the food and all of that if you want to host it, and then you ring the bell. In this case, we could only do it in spring or summer. But the one I'm most looking forward to, as much as I'd like to bring some of the guests in, and we've got our writing case, and there's a few other items in terms of things that we can use to invite people. We also have behind the scenes. The Curia of the Isle is long gone. Once it helped preserve a little knowledge and a kind of safety here in Brandkrug, and established the position of librarian. Rowena, Secretary Persistent of the Curia, a complex entity who has long protected Hush House, is both exhausted and compromised, and it's time for the librarian to return the favor and establish a successor to the Curia. Help visitors to pursue their goals and develop their agendas. When you found 6 suitable candidates inspired by agendas, you can suggest they found an organization that's a worthy successor to the Curia of the Isle. So the different roles, and I'm very interested in who you're interested in filling these different roles. So you've got treasurer. The treasurer would be responsible for the institute's finances, so they would be a good this would be a good excuse to ask for an initial endowment, so they should be wealthy. We've got Mr. Fraser Strathcoyne, philanthropist, collector, former librarian, a complicated man but not a cruel one. Princess Coquille Amergibi, artist, socialite, burglar. An unspeakably charming woman with a particular knack for getting adopted. And Daymare, Grafin Frederica Dagmar Sophia Theresa Helena Begina von Nagelsberg, if you prefer. She doesn't. Secretary Salvant would lead the Institute's healing and restoration efforts, so you can hire Mr. Peter Agdistis, musician, mystic, impresario. Agdistis was a dancer once. One cannot see him without knowing it. The wound in his thigh keeps him from the stage, but his every movement still has the cadence of a prayer. Mr. Eason Fekri, formerly Eason, was a healer. He was not human. He was Secretary Salvant of Hush House, but not all at the same time. Fussy, kind, famously foul to look upon. And Father Stanislav John Schaller, priest, diplomat, gardener, a soft-voiced man with a very steady gaze. Secretary Vigilant would ensure the Institute's safety. Lala Camia, huntress, gourmet, occasionally Brulot consultant. When it can't be killed, and it really needs killing, Camia is the one they turn to. Miss Azita Bukhara, businesswoman, chessmaster, initiate of the Sacred Hour, sometimes called the Colonel. And Lieutenant Arthur Thomas Moore, retired, hero, pilgrim, traitor. He'll always be a soldier, but never again can he only be a soldier, or be only a soldier. Secretary Enigmatic would conceal or reveal the Institute's secrets. Dr. Serena Blackwood, one-time librarian of Hush House, one-time librarian of the Invisible Serapeum in Alexandria, and currently what exactly? Serena is close-mouthed, but I know that she has worked with the St. Ronwin Trust. Signora Corso Reverte, manuscript hunter, legacy scavenger, mercenary. Many would question his ethics, few would deny his acuteness. And Yvette Southey, playwright, philologist, psychoanalyst, as happy with questions and with answers. And Secretary Nunciant, the Secretary Nunciant would communicate and negotiate with other organizations. And our options are Madame Olympe Bichet, essayist, illustrator, critic, editor of the Karasham Review. Dr. Ibn Aladim, the Alapine, historian, doctor, and above all, traveler. The good doctor has been associated with all but one of the librarians of the Watchman's Tree. He was even Secretary Nunciant of Hush House for a little while, but he has never been on good terms with the Suppression Bureau. And Mr. Zachary Wakefield, marksman, detective, renegade. He has always been a quiet man, but since he left the Suppression Bureau, he has grown even quieter and terribly still, except for his fingers and his eyes, always in restless motion. Yeah, so I'm curious which ones you would wind up picking, Vesper, but... Why did I put Winter in here? I thought I put Trist. That's a shame. So I guess we will be cataloging a book after all. Well, this is not the only room where you can do, where you can hold the... Sorry, my tea was quite hot. This is not the only room where you can host a salon, but in terms of spring and summer, usually those are good times for a garden. Okay, so we're going to keep talking with the barber and hope that we get a gossip of some kind. Now, I don't think we have anything that will get me Rose on its own, so we are really relying on the talk to give us that. On the Winding Stair, neat. Gregory Wheelock, master mason and architect employed by Walter de Wolf to construct the winding stair and the guest chambers in Hush House, describes a more ambitious and dangerous project. It is, however, in Ramson, so can't quite do that. We only talk to you for the tea, dear barber. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers to the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. Okay. Satisfaction's not quite going to do it. I should take a second, though, to see if the satisfaction might help me with some of the other texts, though. Not really. I also neglected to check the other rooms. So we've got the neglected room. The room above might once have been some sort of lounge, but the furniture and equipment have been smashed and overturned. The walls are streaked with mildew. An unlovely smell wafts from further up. So that needs Grail. This one needs Edge or Heart. This one needs, I'll just say Winter. Knock or Scale, Heart, Rose, or Sky. And then Heart or Sky, Heart or Scale, Grail or Nectar, and Edge or Nectar. That Storm's kind of encouraging, but it's short of what we actually need, so... So there are still heart things for us to read. So we've got the Flayed Tantra. So with that, we could take my Quenchings and Quellings, which would get me 3... sorry, is it 3? I think there's a little bit more, actually. No, it is just 3. Okay. So we'd get 3, 5 with the Storm, 6 with... 6 with our heart. So still coming up short, but there are other paths to getting what we need. Okay, The Other Line, one of Samuel Savage's more thoughtful works, an allegorical play about the city Clarity, a city that is also a book, and the sentences which inhabit it. The Lord's Proverbial and the Lord's Disquisitional war in the streets of Clarity, while the punctuants get drunk on ink and supply the jokes, though by Savage's usual standards there aren't very many jokes. The final act sees the Lord's Proverbial unsealing the city Clarity's gate to expel the population into the unknown. The formula that they use for the unsealing is a real one. It can be used with knock and preliminal meter to create a gate sign of power. So that's one of the first recipes explicitly mentioned in this playthrough. We get a confounding parable, which is great. We can talk to the barber about that. So I've gained more understanding of preliminal meter. Use this card with Consider, which we'll do right away. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. And for confounding parables, I think we'll just make that its own shelf. Better now. Now, normally, I would like to I'd like to try and turn this into money. But I think in this case I'm going to wait and we'll get that whist back because we might be able to make use of it with Mr. Kill. Well, there's the gossip. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, we're going to talk with the barber first. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. There is a bit of a plan that I have here. The Orchid Transfigurations Noon, the third volume of a compilation of Quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is in the original Latin. A long dialogue between the Mountain Mother and the Vigilant Storm described the ways in which both mountains and storms end, and the protections they use against those ends. But we must use the knife, said the lion-throned one, the noose, the flame, the waking word against those who have passed the three-valve door, and so none may pass. That is our law, and the law of the sun. So, Solace. And there's the Magaphine Mysteries. Okay, where do I want to put the Solace? Yeah, that works. It is summer. I am sitting on the bench outside the Sweet Bones, eating crumbly cheese and nettle wrappings and good black rye bread, soaking up the sun. Another leaf on the Tree of Wisdom's preliminal meters, 9 modes, 9 horizons, the subtle rhythms of words which open ways. So this is a good one to have. We've got 2 knock, remembering that we can get stolen secrets, which I believe is good for 1 knock. So if we get 1 more knock to push it over the edge, and again, there isn't an obvious way for us to do that, but it's closer than we were before. This is also our first rose, so remembering that we have Fet with 2, and we will be unlocking this web-snared room. We can now unlock something with 4 rows without a memory. And actually, hang on. Yeah, 4 rows without a memory, 6 with confounding parables. Which means, I thought I had a rose text, maybe it's just the radical measure. Okay, definitely can't read the radical measure yet. Alright, fair enough. Memories don't last long outside books, but it's made the difference for the day. When ice drop, I can offer my assistants something to drink. This will increase their aspects. They'll also be glad of the refreshment. So we're still okay as far as time goes, but what I want to do now is I'm going to take the time to talk to the... This game, what makes me want to eat cheese? Eat cheese and bread and have nice tea. Well, I always have nice tea when I'm playing it, so that's a bonus for me. But yes, I don't have any cheese, I don't have any nettle wrappings, and I don't have any rye bread. Down to the Grushans. This has boosted their aspects appropriately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep talking with the barber, because if we can get something like a hindsight, that'd kind of be a call to bring in Mr. Kill at the last minute and get the 3rd floor opened. And if it doesn't turn out that way, that's fine. We can just make some money. Although I'm probably going to need to make the decision pretty quickly. So let's see what happens in 13 seconds. Okay, the fear doesn't really do anything for me, so I'll keep talking, but I think I'm gonna hedge my bets and make some money here. And at this point, we know that we're not bringing in Mr. Kill for today just because we don't quite have what it takes to open up the 3rd floor. But that's fine, because today was a bit of a special one where we were deliberately pushing the barber. So I think we're done for Rose. Yeah, we're done for Rose for the foreseeable future. If we wind up with a rainy day, we'll probably pour out dandelion wine and use Mr. Kill. I don't think we need to worry about exhausting the memories. I know I'm going to keep the storm, so let's just open up the web-snared room. The cobwebs here are thick as ivy, clinging to the walls and furniture. Black-furred bodies rustle stickily. Van Loren was creative here. Many of the spiders are probably only seemings, but the webs are real, and it'll be long and tiresome work clearing away the webs. So like I said, not too much in terms of cataloging today, but I think overall the way we spent the time was good. We've got more skills. We've got another room opened, one that gives me access to a tool and another desk, in fact. And then tomorrow, in addition to the fact we know that we're going to unlock another room, we will also be able to focus on cataloging books, assuming we don't get weather that, allows me to read one of these texts. We're very close for a few of them, but we're not quite there. The map room. At the turn of the century, Sir David Green, 8th librarian and former nocturnal branch, superintendent, had this room refurnished to plan his explorations and to manage the operations of his many agents. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters to the lonely, steering farmers through the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. All right, so the contents of this room. 3 Curia period books. We've got A Sacrifice. A silent crowd watches a robed priest drown a struggling victim in a bowl of rainbowed oil. Carriers, a spired city, is dimly visible through the vast rolling wave. Lunar globe. It's the Earth, but silvered like the moon, unlabeled and pocked with craters. Catwink. The smell of catwink puts off vermin, but it's also very difficult to read in sunlight. An ink of containment. Hollowed anthropoderm. Yes, it's human skin, but it's not just human skin. And a vase of roses, a proud ornament. We have Green's red chair, a little wobbly. Green used to lead forward. And we have the vagabond desk, an elegant relic repurposed by Green for his small and secret war. So we have the dim hall here. It's going to take us a while to be able to get in here, but the walls are hung with weapons. As I essay through the threshold, a whisper troubles the still air, and a pair of wall-hung swords glints menacingly. More of Van Loren's protections. They seem much stronger on the seaward than the landward side of the house. One might begin to wonder if they were intended to protect against outsiders at all. The shrimp stature? I like green. I like collars too, but people tend not to get upset with me for saying I like green than when I say I like collars. Memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. Oh, I forgot to commit the Megaphene Mysteries. Let's get that done right away. Oop. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. I actually don't think I read... I didn't read the description for Preliminal Meter, but let's just go from left to right. We don't have too many skills to read here. So, Quenchings and Quellings. Arts which quench fires and bring solace to the troubled mind. A true adept is never troubled by fire, nor by fever, nor by restless spirit. Ambrose Westcott. Sacrolemea, the rites of an order of immortals who have tried to remain apart. These rites touch on the secrets of the secrets of hours of the Mansis, chiefly gods who were flesh and gods from light. Auroral contemplations. To know what will pass in what has passed, the practitioners of this discipline see endings and beginnings, passages and transitions in the same mode as dawn and sunset. Snow stories of wind, woe, and winter. Anburian lapidary. Lightning is a little life, and jewels are its eyes. Ava de Wolf. Edicts liminal, the precepts of limitation and division, established by the enigmatic conclave of hours, sometimes called the chancel. Weaving and not working. He. Valentine de Wolf. Edicts inviolable, the precepts of occlusion and dissolution. Their jealous enforcement is the nature of the calyptra. And preliminal meter, 9 modes, 9 horizons, the subtle rhythms of words which open ways. Oop. Sorry, I still actually want to use these. So, speak with Mr. Kill. Earn some money at the Sweet Bones. Manual labor. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. And we don't need to rush the Fete and the Tryst again. We'll see what the weather brings. Alright, another cloudy day, so we're just going to focus on bringing Mr. Kill up to... to kind of room exploration level. That's going to mean that the day is actually pretty lazy, which is fine. I mean, it's not the end of the world to have this. I am a little curious if I go for a swim, if I wind up with salt. I can't remember, but I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. Now, sky-wise, we have 3, but I need 4. No, actually, right, I need 6, actually. So I can get 4 sky, but not 6. There's still a possibility in terms of reading this text. It's a remote one, but we'll see. Magaphine mysteries. The greater plagues may not be cured, only bound. The very greatest of all may only be entreated, and it is death to do so improperly. My assistant and I will be prudent. So we're going to talk with Mr. Kill. Actually, I'm going to roll the dice on Traveling at Night Volume 2. Perhaps you provided sky, but not enough to match mystery sky. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. So why would I do such a reckless thing, you ask? Because I have the other line. I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. So if it asks me for a memory, I have something that I can use to read that book, and if I don't, you know, it's a shame, but not unworkable. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So let's bring back some elements of the soul here. We're still waiting to get hindsight from Mr. Kill. Actually, regret does the trick as well. Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry, doesn't mind stopping for a gossip. So at this point here, we're just sort of farming for we're sort of farming for memories. So Duende. The Duende is a force, not a labor, a struggle, not a thought. Lorca. We've got art. It's educational, possible inspiration from a relevant painting or other wall art, and memory. So that is why we got the confounding parable. The other line, one of Samuel Savage's more thoughtful works, an allegorical play about the city Clarity, a city which is also a book, and the sentences which inhabit it. The Lord's proverbial and the Lord's disquisitional war in the streets of Clarity, while the punctuants get drunk on ink and supply the jokes, though by Savage's usual standards there aren't very many jokes. The final act sees the Lord's proverbial unsealing the city Clarity's gate to expel the population into the unknown. The formula they use for the unsealing is a real one. It can be used with knock and preliminal meter to create a gate sign of power. So I want to keep a sharp eye on this reading here. Sometimes if you roll the dice and you don't fulfill the requirement, you can actually hurt your element of the soul. So I want to make sure that I actually fulfill the requirements. And I'm just thinking here, let's try and bring back some other elements of the soul. I'm still going to make money, but I'm going to try and bring back some things that I can use to catalog more books. I got lucky with the book here, so let's double down on the advantage. Dead men don't tell no bloody tales? Well, who'd listen? What we're doing here really is equipping ourselves for memories for tomorrow at this point. Okay. Traveling at Night Volume 2, the annotated dream journals of Christopher Alopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist, illiterate, entertaining, bewildering. There's an extensive discussion of the comparisons between Alopoli's own dreams and those of the Emperor Elagabalus, who Alopoli regards as a dupe or avatar of the sun in rags. The white is west of the world, Alopoli remarks, and winter does not wait forever. Elagabalus found his way to the White Door at last. Thankfully, speech can't pass the White Door, and honestly, Elagabalus never had anything interesting to say. I tried to follow in his footsteps, but I never learnt enough of the White. I suppose I'm thankful for that too, but here's what I do know. So this should give me solace, if I recall correctly. Gives us sights and sensations, so still new skills, and then this should be my solace shelf. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. Now, there is actually an argument to say that I don't need to get one of every skill. I don't think that was how the game was originally made. But in this case, I don't mind doing it that way. Oh, very nice. Just because, again, it gives me options as far as crafting is concerned. The thing I'm most worried about is if I double down on some of the skills that I already have too early, I wind up in a situation where I may not get a certain skill at all. And particularly for something like Edict's Martial, which can be very helpful for some of the items that you can build out of that. That is a little bit of a worry that I would I'd sort of short myself on the memories and then just not be able to get them back in a meaningful time. So, another leaf on the Tree of Wisdoms. Sights and sensations. To mix the rarest colors, a merciless detachment is required. And that gives us a little more sky to work with, although I don't think we have any more sky text to work with. Yeah. Of course, we don't know what's up with these other shelves, but... better now. I think I will bring back the tryst before I use the whist for more money. Also gonna double check. So yeah, Mr. Kill's got his 6 winter. I'm actually trying to think what makes the most sense to carry over overnight. Maybe it would be a good idea for me to send Mr. Kill to open up this way now. I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. The Carisham Portalon, a beautifully illustrated and heavily annotated portalon, a nautical atlas of ports and destinations. So this seems like something I probably want to work towards. So just thinking about what I have right now. So I've got Trist, which is good for 1 moon. If I bring in Intuition, that's good for 2. So that's a total of 3. 5, and then the Lunar Globe gives me 6. So if I can, I want to try and bring the Intuition overnight, and unfortunately I can't. I don't have something to keep that. But it is good to know that with the Confounding Parable, I would be able to read that book. Grand ascent to the 3rd floor. Frost crackles on the window panes as I ascend, and the light strikes at my eyes like knives. Another of Van Loren's forbiddings. So we should be crossing over into a new season soon. Better now. I could offer help with correspondence and arithmetic. There's no school in Brandkrug, and not everyone here knows their letters. And we'll sneak in another book. I think it probably makes sense to just kind of handle the books sort of room by room. So another baronial text. I have a couple of solar period books in this one. De Ratio Quercum. In English, the title translates roughly as The Account of the Oaks, but this is Nathaniel Darcy Ever's fascinating if haphazard survey of the occult properties of every tree he can find, not just oaks. Pretty high-level nectar text, so not one I'm expecting to read right away. Still trying to impose order on my organization. All right. The Grand Ascent to the 3rd floor. By long tradition, each Baron Brandkrug had their image set in a niche in the Grand Ascent. Later, the Curia of the Isle continued the tradition for their librarians. We have the 9th librarian, niche with a plaque, who saw his fate and did not shirk it. A niche with a plaque who departed but did not forget. And the 11th librarian of the Curia of the Isle, who returned to complete what he began. 12th librarian of the Curia of the Isle. This, of course, would be me. I could use whatever I want as my image. And 13th librarian of the Curia of the Isle. If I have a successor, their image might stand here. Potted bamboo. Water it, and you can almost hear it growing. So, in terms of what this gives me access to, we already knew that we could try and access the Gloomy Room. The Despoiled Laboratory is kind of interesting, because this is one, theoretically, that we could get with Mr. Kill. Mr. Kill's about to be like, do you have other friends? No. Not until I get Arab, at least. Or Core. So yeah, the Despoiled Laboratory is one that we can definitely work with Mr. Kill for. The Shadowed Atrium I think if we get a revelation, which we do, yeah, so the Shadowed Atrium and the Despoiled Laboratory are ones I can more or less guarantee for myself, provided I put the time in during the day. But I don't think that brings me any closer to picking a memory to take overnight. Actually, the hindsight makes sense to take overnight. So I'll bring Mr. Kill in and basically do the same thing. So an afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers through the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. The other thing that's nice is because we'll be going to autumn, we're going to have a character which has more nectar. So this will allow me to catch up on at least a couple of the rooms. We don't yet have the spice scales, so the Grail is going to be a little trickier. But I figure there's at least 2 rooms that we can unlock if we're so inclined. Memories fade, assistance departs, but the soul is refreshed. This makes me wonder if... Okay, I thought... Huh. I thought we were actually done summer. I was wrong. Speak with Mr. Kill. Mr. Kill always enjoys a chance to catch up with me. Mr. Kill can always spare a few hours to help a friend. So we'll use the health, manual labor. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. And I guess given the fact that I said that there's not much else for us to do, we might as well... Oh, sorry, I was wrong on that, actually. I can first get the Confounding Parable and the Tryst. I think I'm going to do that nice and early. Because I can always buy back the elements of the soul. Oh, it is the next day. Drat. All right. Well, that's fine. An advertisement from Cater and Hero. The firm Cater and Hero, alive to the possibility of commerce, has sent a smudgily printed catalog addressed to the librarian and... Mr. Kill can always spare a few hours to help a friend. Mr. Kill, Ryan Spry, doesn't mind stopping for a gossip, so let's chat with him about whist. We may want to talk to the visitor sooner rather than later. Cater and Hero has offices almost everywhere, not in this misty limb of the kingdom, but they will at least deliver here. Use an ink to order items of interest. A few lines on an order form won't consume the ink. When your delivery arrives, it'll contain a new order form. So I don't want to use the order form right now, but I do like that I have the option. So it's a sunny day. I don't need to put too much effort into opening up these different rooms. If we start maybe getting at the halfway point and we haven't had a rainy day yet, that might be a time that I consider, cracking open the dandelion wine and giving that to the orchard keeper. But for now, we're just going to stick with what we can do on our own. And the nice thing here with Mr. Kill is that I should be able to get him to the level that I need right at the start of the day. And if we need to talk with the visitor, that's fine. We can just we can sort of adjust our expectations for memories accordingly. We've already committed to getting the moon through other means. So okay, The other line, one of Samuel Savage's more thoughtful works, an allegorical play about the city Clarity, a city which is also a book, and the sentences which inhabit it. The Lord's proverbial and the Lord's disquisitional war in the streets of Clarity, while the punctuants get drunk on ink and supply the jokes. Though by Savage's usual standards, there aren't very many jokes. The final act sees the Lord's proverbial unsealing the city Clarity's gate to expel the population into the unknown. The formula that they use for the unsealing is a real one. It can be used with knock and preliminal meter to create a gate sign of power. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. All right, let's get reading. So, Confounding Parable, Tryst. We'll add the book. So, Sea Stories is a new one for us. So here we take the Magaphine Mysteries. And then the... There we go. All right, I can master this mystery. Enough moon to match mystery moon. And Mr. Peter Agdistis, musician, mystic, impresario. Agdistis was a dancer once. One cannot see him without knowing it. The wound in his thigh keeps him from the stage, but his every movement still has the cadence of a prayer. Now, he knows Fusine, so this actually creates a little bit of a dilemma for me. I'll explain why in a minute. Memories don't last long outside books, but it's made a difference for the day. So if I talk with him, how do you do, librarian? I crave your assistance. So if we go tutoring Fusine, my visitor can teach me the rudiments of this dry language. After tutoring you, the visitor will leave even if they arrived on other business. So as much as I want Fusine because it's, I think it's deaths and their evasions, the fact that I can have him added to my writing case is a little bit of a higher priority for me right now. The other question is, at what point do I want to do this with Peter Agdistis? So if I think of it, I don't really have any memories I need right now. So I think what we'll do, we'll probably talk with him about the affair of the God in the Wood. So the... Lightarian, a faddish health camp in the Black Forest, has attracted attention after many of its clients seem to have developed sudden, sometimes upsetting, artistic abilities. I should also double check here. So they're going to want the heart. Now, normally I would hand off a true and complete accounting of the Asclepian mysteries of the roots of the house. This is in Greek. Oh, they do understand Greek. Never mind. On the God in the Wood, I have heard of this venture in Germany where the customers go in as bankers and come out as painters. I am not interested in bankers or in painting usually, but this... Hello, Selphea. Long time no see. Hilarious. You know this as much as I know that you... I actually saw this game on Xbox, Microsoft Game Pass, My Time at Sandrock, which... seemed like up your alley. I don't know if you've heard of it, but for those of you who don't know, Selphea is the long-suffering and very admirable Australian streamer who does do quite a bit of My Time at Sandrock, but not exclusively Sandrock. But somebody I found through Dendrian stream, and unfortunately, just because of the hours that I work, actually what I've noticed is there have been a few early mornings that I have, and I get to catch the end of Selphea's stream, so I don't know if this is the most recent one, but I know she's been back to Clanfolk for a while, which is Braveheart meets RimWorld. That is a terrible description of that game, by the way, but anyway, Selphea is a lovely variety broadcaster. First person I've ever played Words on Stream on their broadcast, and actually has a bunch of interesting streamers hang out in her place as well. So particularly for those of you who sort of tend to come in at the end of the stream, and obviously this is a bit of an exception because I'm streaming quite late, but in this case here, I think Selphea is a very good recommendation in this case, just because I know her hours are probably going to be more in line with what the people who kind of come in and feel a bit disappointed that I'm wrapping up will be experiencing. Now, the good news is, Sophia, we're not at the very start, but we're still pretty early into this playthrough because we are actually enjoying a very early look at the House of Light beta. So not everything has been implemented in the beta yet, and this is why I've got a big early beta sign up in the top left corner. But House of Light's going to be adding a few interesting new features. I'm definitely not going to give a comprehensive account of them, but I also know that you've been interested in sort of seeing the very start of the game. So I know you've already sort of seen me wash up on the beach and sort of unlock a few of the different rooms. But as you can see here, we don't have as much of the library unlocked as when you've previously watched, and we don't have as many skills. But the other thing is that there's new stuff. So for instance, one of the things that has been added in the game is this writing case. So in this case, a sturdy brass-cornered writing case, which has been of service to at least 3 librarians of the house. Use your writing case in a desk with ink to invite visitors to a salon. To invite villagers, add your writing case as a discussion subject when you visit them in Brandkrug. So why would you invite them? Well, there's all sorts of reasons. I imagine one of them would be tutoring. But when it talks about salon, you can, when you get certain rooms unlocked, there's this bell, a picnic in the physic garden, the peace of flowers, the murmur of leaves. Here, one might have a picnic, but only in spring or summer. And you can have up to 5 guests. So you can have 1 villager and then visitors, the primary route by which books enter and leave the library. The arrival of a visitor may be cause for a variety of emotions. So basically up to 5 guests, and then there is the secretary persistent, which we'll get to in a minute. But basically you can hold parties. And once we unlock the kitchen, in fact, we're going to be able to make refreshments. So this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to Peter Agdistis. We're currently dealing with the affair of the God in the Wood. The Lighthouse, a faddish health camp in the Black Forest, has attracted the attention after many of its clients seem to have developed sudden, sometimes upsetting artistic abilities. So Peter Agdistis is interested in the painting parties, and by satisfying his curiosity with a book, we will add him to the writing case, which means that we can invite him. We'll have 3 individuals, so with 1 more visitor to the house in winter, that means if I had the inks, I would actually be able to invite 4 people and a villager to hang out at the in the garden. So that's more of a long-term goal. Now, the House of Light mentioned in the title actually comes from this Lighthouse. Now, this is going to rely a little bit more on some knowledge of some of the history of the house that you learn in the game, but this is one of the big headline features which is not fully implemented in this beta. Behind the scenes, the Curia of the Isle is long gone. Once it helped preserve a little knowledge and a kind of safety here in Brandkrug, and established the position of librarian. Rowena, secretary persistent of the Curia, a complex entity who has long protected Hush House, is both exhausted and compromised, and so it's time for the librarian to return the favor and establish a successor to the Curia. Help visitors to pursue their goals and develop their agendas. When you've found 6 suitable candidates inspired by agendas, you can suggest that they found an organization that's a worthy successor to the Curia of the Isle. And so you assign these different roles. Treasurer, so you'll notice that there are the different guests. This is Agdistis here. Secretary Salvant. The Secretary Salvant would lead the Institute's healing and restoration efforts. Secretary Vigilant would ensure the Institute's safety. Secretary Enigmatic would conceal or reveal the Institute's secrets, and the Secretary Nunciant would communicate and negotiate with other organizations. And the Lighthouse Institute has sort of a position in the game's world. So you get to be there sort of at its founding, and you get to determine the direction under which it's founded, which I think is kind of neat. Lighthouse is the god Pan, his aspect as deliverer. Why then Lighthouse? Advertising or religion? Some would say there is no distinction. I would like to know more. All right, so we're going to give him the same book that we gave Schaller. I'd read that honey is part of the diet they offer in this place. I think now I understand the significance of this. Perhaps I will try it myself. Thank you, librarian. All right, in 40 seconds we will... I'm trying to think. Probably restore the FET so that I can catalog another book. The big hold up right now is just cataloging all of these books. So this is one reason I'm willing to put some money towards restoring the FET. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal and a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. It is autumn when the leaves rustle. The silent landlady has served me apple pie with steamed cream in the window nook. Alright, Agdistis card. Use this at a desk with your writing case to make note of the address. So this is a tool and correspondence. And a bronze spintria, which is good when Oriflammes comes. We'll be able to turn this into potentially another book. So Mr. Agdistis resolved to experiment with honey. So we'll add him to the case right now. There we go. Note Agdistis address for what we might call an occult correspondence. And let's get back to talking with Mr. Kill. We've already got him up to the 6 that we need to be able to open the despoiled laboratory, but I want to get some memories from him through conversation, just so I can get an idea of what we're working with next. I should remember that when I add someone to the Rolodex, I get an occult scrap, so I really should be using those before I move on. Okay, that's something for me to remember in future. But will they come when you do call for them? So Agdistis will need 3 sky. So the other thing I want to work out is actually finding out how to make the various inks that will be required. This is, of course, why we need to still focus on cataloging different books. We have plenty, we just need to sort out what we're doing over the course of the day. One thing that I may change up, so if we get to a position where I don't have anything to do with books, and I don't have, I don't really have anything I can use to get to the different rooms. So for instance, after we open the despoiled laboratory, I'm almost certainly going to try and open the shadowed atrium. Once we get to the point where I don't have any obvious places for me to unlock, that's when every element of the soul goes towards cataloging until we've sort of run out of books. If we run out of books and I don't have anything that I can do next, that's the point where I start thinking about maybe getting new elements of the soul or something like that. So anyways, the Carisham Portolan, a beautifully illustrated and heavily annotated portolan, a nautical atlas of ports and destinations. It quickly becomes clear that many of its destinations no longer exist or never existed in the traditional sense, but the annotations remain fascinating. The routes to Noon, the long sanctuary across the Western Sea, may remain viable. Believe it or not, it is possible to run out of books in this game. It's just very difficult. 2 pages have been gummed together. When teased apart, they reveal a route to Ye's Behind the Wave, marked in red and gold inks and with heavily underlined warnings. Here the final city, strike the hours, lest earth and sky break open. So gossip, that's actually helpful. I don't know how many gossip books there will be, so we'll probably change the library around a bit. This is a nice way for me to get Grail and Rose if I need. All right, sea stories. I've gained more understanding of sea stories. Use this lesson to acquire a new skill. Better now. Okay, we're going to catalog this book right away. We'll also use the whisk to earn some money. Yeah, and then I can restore the tryst and catalog a book still. Okay. Vagabond Desk. Curia period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly the 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Okay, the impulse doesn't quite do something for me because we're still short. Basically, we need 4 or more in terms of nectar. So, impulse is nice, but not quite what I need. But like I said, if we're in a pinch, we can open up the dandelion wine, and that will give us what we need for the orchard keeper. Sea stories. The sea has always been the widest road. So 2 moon, 1 grail. Probably not enough for us to read any of the grail text that we have. Apollo and Marsyas. Now this is one we can definitely read. So the libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas and its tragic outcome. The librettist is only identified by their initials. And that's surgeries and exsanguinations, which I do believe has a knock component to it. So I don't necessarily need to have a heart memory. Well, I've got one anyway. I think with that in mind, I will use him to open the despoiled laboratory now. This was an alchemist's workshop and a picture gallery, but the pictures have been flung down and the vessels overturned, the solvents and reagents spilt. It will be time-consuming and dangerous to repair. So I don't want to restore any element. Well, I'm actually going to double check. An afternoon spent profitably reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers to the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. Yeah, you know what? I am going to restore the fete because we should be able to catalog the book before the evening's done. I may take one more brief break. We don't have that much more time, but I've run out of tea, so I might take another small break just to get a little bit more. Flood Gallery. Thurza Blake, 7th librarian of the house, extended this space, decorating it with semi-precious materials and filling it with the finest art Hush House's money could buy. Of course, after enthusiasms brought the house to the brink of penury, much of it had to be sold off. I think Serena was the 10th librarian. This is Ava DeWolf. This is the crystal called Scolasite, the wormstone polished to chill smoothness. So, Baroness Brankrug, 7th Baroness Brankrug, not to be crossed, not to be found. All right, quite a few items in here. So 3 Curia period books. Sacrament Ascite, back in the Dawn period, the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot used this in the Rites of the Horned Axe. Actually, tell you what, I'm going to take my break now so that I can get some refreshment. Then I'll inventory, 5 Curia period books. I'm going to take an inventory, and then we will try and get a couple more days done before we finish the stream. So if you've been here since the very start, now would be a great time to get up, have a stretch, otherwise take care of yourself. If you've just arrived, still, it may be a good time to get up, have a stretch, and otherwise take care of yourself. But I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to boil a kettle. There's not too much water left in it, so it shouldn't be as long as before. I also actually have a little bit of my dinner that I want to finish as well. So either way, shouldn't be long, but I do want just a minute to clear my head, get some refreshment, and then come back and finish the stream. So I will see you all in a little bit. Thank you once again for your patience. All right. Hang on a minute. Excuse me. Okay, I think we're okay. But let's move on to the evening. I guess I didn't keep my... Oh, night is not yet fallen. Way too early. All right, night has fallen. Dawn will come soon. Dream on the storm. I'm a little nervous about the FET here, but I think we should be fine. Better now. I will feel a bit foolish if we lose it in the morning, but this book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Curia period, roughly the 1700s to 1800s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Oh, right. I was going to do the inventory of the rooms. So, Sacrament Assite, back in the Dawn period, the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot used this in the rites of the Horned Axe. Sacrament Callicite, back in the Dawn period, the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot used this in the rites of the Red Grail. Glassfinger Toxin, what is within, without, what is without, within, a poison sacred to the votaries of the Menascate. Sacrament Malachite, back in the Dawn period, the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot used this in the rites of the Ringyu, the hour which has also been called the Malachite. Ruby-Wise Ruin, a ruddy liqueur wrung from flowers, even when the flowers aren't red. I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents now. I think this is a favorite of Vesper Fortunes, the Berry book. Thyrza Blake, 7th Librarian of Hush House, talks about fruit for no other apparent reason than it was the kind of thing that she did. And she talks about fruit in the woven language Kilisimi, so I don't think we can fit it on here. Whoa, get away from that curse. Okay. Back to the task at hand. Xanthotic Essence, the rich gold of a summer afternoon. If sunlight precedes moonlight, St. Anselm observed, the Menascate must precede the Madrigad, and the light that was lost will remain. I'm sorry to hear that, Sulphea. Wolfsnow Ampule, far too cold ever to melt in anything but the hottest noonday sun. It will very gradually consume human flesh. Perinculate, deadly, use gloves to read text produced in this pigment, an ink of power, sometimes called an unsanctioned ink. The serpent-styled glass, now this is an important one because it's a tool. Carved snakes writhe down the frame. A prominent inscription reads, "To the librarian Gervenius in earnest of our wager." Turpentine, an odorous eraser of errors. Quartz chunk, ice, rock, winking light. Solomon's preparation. Solomon Husher would take this every night without fail before sleep to close his ears to the sound of the waves. But on the 9th of January, 1838, a heavy snow fell on Hush House. When the other residents had dug themselves out, Husher was nowhere to be found. He left a resignation letter and an undrunk measure of his preparation. Ambergris chunk. Never, never, never call it whale vomit. A melodic chair. Someone appears to have tuned the squeaks. Lumpy melodic chair. Someone appears to have tuned the squeaks. Stargull ink. An ink traditionally but only rarely made with meteoric iron. A minor ink of power. Armagnac D. Armagnac can only come from Gascony, but if you believe Monsieur Corentin, his vineyard began with vine cuttings from Yeas beyond the sea. And a lot of paintings. Alchemist glassware, fragile vessels in which new substance are quickened. So winter, lantern, grail, and forge. And paintings. Lady Tryphon, a very old portrait in the Byzantine style. Leaves in the Wind, a soothing but undistinguished work in oils. Someone evidently was good at trees and wanted you to know it. Portrait of a behatted lady. The more prominent the headgear, the closer to the glory. Departure. Here Valentine has painted gulls migrating across a darkening sea. Glory's Gift. A human figure is silhouetted against a blazing sun. Crowcross Sands at high tide, a gloomy study of the sea in gloomy weather. Dr. Serena Blackwood, no one is in the picture, only an empty garden. As above, so below, a framed page of illustrated vellum. Up close, the colors dazzle and puzzle. Lord Monday, a well-dressed middle-aged gentleman with receding hair and a clear expression of astonished delight. Leaves in the wind again, the boy prays. There is no sign of a boy in this distorted, menacing image, and no one seems to be praying. A sacrifice. A silent crowd watches a robed priest drown a struggling victim in a bowl of rainbowed oil. And the foundlings, a pair of human eyes peer from darkness in a tangle of roots. So in terms of options, we can try and go through the silvered snares, but we would need to find additional winter aspect. Now remember, we do have Solomon's preparation. However, that is a for winter item, so it would be nice if we could use it for something a little more intense. But we did also say that we had the shadowed atrium, and I think it is a good time for us to talk with Reverend Timothy. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversation, prayer, and tea. He'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church funds. Actually, before I do that, I want to see what the weather is. Aha! Assistance from an orchard keeper. In autumn, the orchard keepers come to sell their wares at Brankrug. A shilling will buy one's help. Orchard keepers offer nectar and a little heart, alternatively add a soul card to find rarer guests who might be seeking employment. So yes, I definitely want to hire an orchard keeper. Now, we know that they also have the heart aspect, so I do want to just double check. So theoretically, if I were to give them a storm and... So the storm and the health would be an additional 3. That would bring them up to 4. I don't have anything that brings them up to 5, though. Yeah, those are... I know there's a few things that we can use to try and boost our visitors. I mean, I guess there's the Pillis oat bread, but I'm a little reluctant to use those. Actually, I think the glass of water might have... Yep. Could use the mist-kissed water, but again, that's not as exciting as just the good old-fashioned water. So, I don't know. I don't feel like we need to move heaven and earth to get the heart. I feel like there are other opportunities that'll happen. But given the weather, I think it would be foolish not to take advantage of at least one of the nectars. I think we're going to take care of this tangle of thorns, and then we'll get the walled garden next. Okay. Knowing what I know, we have Apollo and Marsyas, which I think it makes as much sense to use the Tryst in this case. I can master this mystery, enough heart to match mystery heart. Yeah, this'll work. In autumn, the orchard keepers come to sell their wares in Brankrug. A shilling will buy one's help. In Cornwall, it is quite possible to take a stride from the richest vegetation into the abomination of desolation. It has been said in mockery that Cornwall does not grow wood enough to make coffins for the people. Sabine Baring Gould. All right, we'll jump straight in on the rain. So talk about the weather, more useful than one might expect, especially in Britain. And I think what I'm going to do here, because we already know we're going to get one of our rooms open today, I'm going to keep talking with the orchard keeper and see if we can maybe turn that into a revelation or something else that will enhance our lantern. We can then use that with Reverend Timothy, but if I hire Reverend Timothy right away, that's 45 seconds that I spend talking with him. So we'll see if we can preserve some of my elements of the soul. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. And I don't think I have any use for the FET, so let's catalog more books. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's baronial period, roughly the 1500s to 1700s. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Let's take advantage of the weather while it lasts. So given that one of my goals is to eventually get to the kitchen, I should realize that, you know, I don't have an infinite number of options in terms of opening up the ruinous hall. I should maybe figure out how I'm going to wind up getting some core at some point. But again, I've got so many books to be able to read that I don't want to... I just don't want to be early in terms of committing certain decisions. Okay, an Orchid Transfiguration's a feast. I don't think this should be too hard for us to read, provided we get a little lucky with our memories. So if we get the spice scales, I can read that. Casey! Thank you very much for resubscribing. I thought you had subscribed last stream. Oh, sorry, that was Jan B. But thank you very much for your subscription. Yes, we. So I've only got a couple of the things in the new DLC the obviously early look at the DLC, obviously early beta. But the biggest one right now is the writing case, and then we can see it's autumn, so I wouldn't be able to hold a salon in the physic garden. But we can see here that we can bring in up to five guests, 1 villager, and 4 others, or of course 5 special visitors. The thing that's there's a couple of things that are gonna keep me from really making the most of it. Number 1, I don't really have a lot of ways of making ink. And then number 2, I don't have any of the kitchens unlocked, so I can't really serve refreshments. But when I looked at this on Wednesday, I actually wasn't able to click on the Lighthouse, but here we can actually see the different roles that we can assign to people. So I have a short list of people who, prior to experience, I have some people who I without thinking. Actually, what I noticed was a lot of the Lighthouse Institute people that are my priors are actually people who have previously served under the Curia. So I was kind of imagining Strathcoyne as the treasurer, Eason Feckery as the secretary salvant. I'm more along the lines of Azida Bukhara as secretary vigilant, although it would be kind of cool to have Lieutenant Moore. I think probably I'm pushing towards Serena Blackwood as the secretary enigmatic, and Dr. Ibn al-Adim as the secretary nunciant. But I'm not married to any of those choices. And I am, of course, very curious for those of you that like to sort of play along with this stuff. If your options were Fraser Strathcoyne, Kokil Amarujibi, or Daymare for treasurer, Peter Ecdistis, Eason, or Father Stanislav John Schaller for secretary salvant, Lalakamia Azita Bukaria or Lieutenant Arthur Thomas Moore for Secretary Vigilant to ensure the Institute's safety. Serena Blackwood, Corso Reverte, or Yvette Southey for Secretary Enigmatic, and then the diplomatic role of the Secretary Nunciant would be Madame Olympe Bichet, Ibn Aladim, or Zachary Wakefield. For those of you that want to volunteer your own choices for those roles prior to whatever you may be experiencing in House of Light with the events, I am curious where everybody's falling on that. It is autumn when the leaves rustle. The silent landlady has served me apple pie with steamed cream in the window nook. And thank you, Kieran. I don't know. I think it's just been one of those summer days where you wind up sneezing more than you should. Now, I suppose if I bring back my health with the impulse, I would be able to hire another orchard keeper and open up another room. That is actually slightly tempting. I think I'm going to do that. I mean, this is why we earn the money at the Sweet Bones, right? Okay, Apollo and Marsyas, the libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas and its tragic outcome. The librettist is identified only by their initials. In the original myth, Marsyas lost the musical contest and was flayed by Apollo, who later regretted it. In this version, Marsyas' skin has a further history. The skin of Marsyas gives oracles and is later smuggled to Phrygia, where the priestesses of Cybele use it for a drum. At the climax, the striking of the drum drives would-be violators of the priestesses to suicidal madness, and the opera ends with a wistful hymn from the youngest priestess on the beauty of mountain pines. Now, it did just occur to me that I gave a reading of the items in the infirmary, but I didn't actually read the paintings, so I'm going to take a second to double back. But we've got a memory of the storm, surgeries and exsanguinations. So we will learn surgeries and exsanguinations. I also want to properly shelve that book. So I don't believe we have a storm shelf already. Not quite. I am getting quite a few stolen secrets lately. I always thought this was a rarer one, so something I overheard in dreams. I've learned something, or perhaps just remembered it. So we'll talk with the orchard keeper again. We're still at a point where it's going to take me a minute to get the health back anyway. Better now. Okay. Let's bring back the health. I'll use that FET to catalog something right away. Obviously, we kind of abandoned the effort to bring in Reverend Timothy, but again, we just had other alternatives, so not too worried about that. Surgeries and exsanguination. Surgery entails the flow of blood, and the flow of blood entails purification, but the door also opens the other way. Now, this is interesting because it says it's effective against infestations. It is worth remembering that we can't really work with Victory of Crowns. Unfortunately, this does require 7 winter, so this doesn't really line up. Although I can put this in as the scale, and if I could find 7 winter through other means, we would be able to get rid of the witchworms. But I suspect we're probably just gonna try and get rid of that through other means. Okay, let's keep going. Haven't really used my whist yet, so I'm debating between cataloging books or just going crazy and earning a lot of money with it. This will be the last time I talk with the orchard keeper. Now I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. The sea does not regret. Eason Fekri, one-time Secretary Salvant of the Curia of the Isle, responsible for the Curia's healing efforts, writes of his experiences in Brandkrug's and hints at his travels elsewhere. So this is one that takes a bit of effort on my part to read, but it is actually possible. So with this intuition, I combine that and the Tryst. So that gives us 3. I think it was Magaphine Mysteries. It brings us 5, at which point we would use the Loner Globe. In fact, this would almost be worth bringing in the Tryst, except that I think by the time the minute goes by, I'm not going to be able to use the intuition. So a little bit of a shame. I would prefer to rest on this, but we don't have the memories that we need. So that's life. We'll work around it. Oh my. All right. I've learned something, or perhaps just remembered it. So I'm going to need a minute to think about this. So if I talk to Reverend Timothy, I need 30 seconds to talk to him about Revelation, which will bring him up to 4. 30 seconds to talk to him about the mirror scope, which will bring him up to 5. I can't do everything that I want today. But let's try and work on the plan anyway. So, the flower garden now overrun with thorned weeds and briar rose. So, if I talk to Reverend Timothy now, that'll take 5 seconds to hire him. 30. No, you know what? I might be able to make this work. Reverend Timothy enjoys thoughtful conversation, prayer, and tea. He'll offer his assistance in return for a 1 shilling donation to church funds. We do appreciate the contribution. Reverend Timothy, rector of Brandkrug, ordained by the Church of the Unconquered Sun, a learned man, blessed in the tally, the gate, and the light. Alright, let's chat about the revelation. Exalt with a memory. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. So we'll need another 30 seconds to talk to him about the mirror scope. Better now. We are going to first hire a orchard keeper. It's going to be a very, very tight timeline, but we might be able to pull this off. If not, I'm going to be a bit sad at wasting opportunities. I can lend my assistant something to help increasing their abilities. Ooh, that is not a good sound. The Scent Garden. This too dates from the time of the Abbey, but in summer, neither sisters nor brothers were permitted to spend more than a single hour here, lest the temptation of savours overwhelm them. So, garden, moth orchids in spring, spring and summer, honey-scar jasmine in autumn. Fragrant chalice in summer and autumn, Lenten rose in winter. Rarer plants might flourish in Numa. The history plant Agave eterna flowers here in summer. We have a hurricane lamp, proof against storm wind and moth swoop alike. And Skinshuck mead, a murky, sweet-smelling liquid crowded with sediment. So we still have access to the ruinous hall. Nothing really changed along those lines. I'm going to put a brave face on this and still keep going with the Orchard Keeper, but I'm starting to feel doubts. This tool has boosted their aspects appropriately, so give them the health. Open up the Shadowed Atrium. This has long been a holy place, but in the absence of prayers, other influences have crept in. I will need to purify it step by step. I am actually kind of curious. I guess they don't count as a visitor, so I wouldn't be able to get them to occupy the slot. An afternoon spent profitably, reading newspapers to the curious, writing affectionate letters for the lonely, steering farmers to the requirements of the Ministry of Agriculture. So at the very least, we'll be able to hire another Orchard Keeper with the shilling, but my intention's definitely going to be to earn some money. Again, I got to be really careful with the space bar. There's a very slim chance I'll be able to employ that impulse. Nailed it! Exalt with a memory. I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. Oh, that was close. Alright, that's good. So we'll be able to use them to open up the walled garden here. If we have a storm, so the challenge with a storm is going to be, do I use that to open up one of the books? Do I, hire the Orchard Keeper for a given room? There's a few different options there. We'll see where it goes. Okay. Atrium. In 1651, Musgrave de Wolf endowed the atrium with a shrine to St. Januarius of the Gate. Musgrave was a pious man, but also a Puritan, so this grand shrine was a little unusual. St. Januarius is also an unusual choice, but he is the patron saint of boundaries, and the de Wolfs were often said, in some sense, to be marcher lords charged with the keeping of boundaries. So an atrium chair reserved for latecomers, non-believers, and the pensive. The shrine to St. Januarius. St. Januarius is the name which was wounded, the name of exceptions, the little god at the door. So this will, in addition to the usual soul, scale, and memory, it'll accept another element of the soul, an omen, mark, light, or a pet, as well as fuel, memories, pigments, and light. We have a couple of Aglafotis scented candles, candle scented with Aglafotis. And if we want to move up, we can go to the Gloomy Stair, which we can use with Mr. Kill. Alright, let's get this open. The walled garden. Iron spikes march along the top of the wall. The gate is rusted shut, but what I can see through the bars is as ruinous as I might expect. Now, it doesn't matter if the dawn comes while we're opening up the room. We're guaranteed to get that opened. So overall, I'd say decent enough progress on the house for today. Again, the big challenges are certainly going to be the heart rooms. Not quite sure what I'm doing with the darkened church, but at the very least, the gloomy stair should be accessible. Okay. Now, I don't think the weather's going to change my views on who I hire today. So I'll bring in Mr. Kill. In fact, there is a reasonable question to say, do I need to bring in any memories at all? Or is it better for me to just use one of the elements of the soul to... You know, I'm going to do something a little different this time. Actually, I should probably be wrapping up, but we'll do one more day. This time, I'm going to read a book. So for this one, what I'm doing is I'm going to get the confounding parable. And this is so that I can read the sea does not regret. So we'll set aside the tryst. We'll use the health to earn money. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. And then from there, I can use the fet to catalog. Catalog a solar period book. This book was probably written around the time of Hush House's solar Gothic period, roughly between the 1000s to 1500s. If I can examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. I do kind of want to open up the Gloomy Stare, but I sort of committed to the cataloging, so I'm gonna be a baby and catalog one of the Nocturnal period books. So this book was probably written around the time of Hush House's Nocturnal period after the turn of the century. If I examine it, I can learn more about what knowledge it might contain. Books from this period are almost never contaminated. I also didn't keep a memory. Now, hail is an interesting one. So this gives me a higher level of edge than I would normally have, as well as a higher level of sky. And that does pose a little bit of a problem for me because I do have a text with edge that I wanted to read, although I probably still can't handle that on its own. So 7 shards is definitely not working. A little too optimistic for 8. So 6 from Debellus Murorum. I think we only have Auroral Contemplations. So yeah, that's too much to ask. So the alternative would be... Well, I guess I don't have any sky texts to read anyway. Surely there is something that I can do with sky here. That would be quite the shame if I couldn't make something happen with this. So if I were to use Mr. Kill at the Reeking Chamber, so we would use the Hail, and Mr. Kill would bring us up to 4. Oh, this is such a shame. Okay, so Barren Silence's Astrolabe. Huh. Yeah, I guess I should also consider what rooms have edge requirements. This one's already being opened. Okay, so we've got the Gloomy Room, or we have... the Reeking Chamber. It'll take a minute to work this out. I feel like the hail is too good to waste, so... Not quite how I planned on using that tea, but I think it does the trick. So if there was an argument for the edge... I think our only option here is the Gloomy Room. I think that one would just be a simple higher Denzel and you've got it. But I guess the challenge is if I'm wrong on that, then I've got nothing. So I think I'm going to bring back my whist, and we're going to bring in Mr. Kill to open that room. So of course it is a little funny that, you know, the one time that I don't the one time that I say, okay, yeah, we're not going to hire Mr. Kill, I do actually wind up with a pretty good weather. But anyways, Oriflamme's established 1776. Sense Signs Sciences. Dear librarian, we'd like to offer you this opportunity to purchase 108 Ava DeWolf discourses on the fifth history, and particularly on those who are said to have passed over from it, the Great Hooded Princes. So the Knocklong who ascended under the Mother of Ants, but now, so Ava claims, honor the Horned Axe. Now, not the cheapest book. It's tally price of 3, so that almost wipes us out. But it is a low-level scale text, so I think it is one worth making the effort for. So, Oriflammes thanks you for your custom. So yeah, we will, after the manual labor, we'll try and bring back the whist. Whist will go to bringing in Mr. Kill, and then we will adjust accordingly. Practic Garden. In the early days of St. Brendan's Abbey, the brothers practiced... Well, confounding parable doesn't really mean anything, because if I want confounding parable, we already get it from the other line. It's really more about the... So there's two things about buying books for me. Number one, you never know when you're gonna get them again. And then number two, particularly at a point where I'm trying to establish this floor of skills. So basically to have one of... Like, so I've never been of the mind where I specialize early on. I want to at least have one level on all of these things. So being able to fill out the collection of skills so that I can start making some decisions in terms of what I do with lessons learned, even if that means that I'm in a tough spot as far as learning languages are concerned, I feel that that inconvenience is outweighed by the ability to just have more options, you know, in future seasons when I'm reading certain books. So obviously everybody's mileage is going to vary in terms of how they interact with it, but to a certain extent, when it comes to just memories, like I suppose if I wanted to optimize a library for memories, I would just have one of each book that gives each memory type and not worry about the rest. But of course, the drawback there is I wouldn't be able to get the lessons that come out of those books, which are of course the more valuable ones. All right, Practic Garden. In the early days of St. Brendan's Abbey, the brothers practiced the arts of war here. So it was that in the baronial times, the garden became a favorite of the martial, quarrelsome DeWolfs. And only a couple of items to interact with here. Garden, sea blessed pears in summer and autumn. In Numa, the shining pear, Pyrus auriculcinus. And the Practic Garden dummy. Since the Napoleonic War, he has been punched, thumped, stabbed, and shot by amateurs, by professionals, and by tipsy guests after dinner. No wonder he looks so cross. And another pear tree. All right. We will wait out a couple of events. Now I have an idea of this book's nature and its contents. A tower falls. The phonograph is packed in glossy amethyst purple card with the words "A tower falls" in 9 languages on both sides. There is no other identifying information at all. Journey to the Grove. Black Ellie, who much later became Damascene matriarch of the Sisterhood of the Knot, recounts her journey to the Grove of Green Immortals. All right. Just going to wait a couple seconds on the confounding parable. Or a couple seconds. Half a minute. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. So we want, it doesn't really matter which whist, we just need that as soon as we can get it. It is autumn when the leaves rustle. The silent landlady has served me apple pie with steamed cream in the window nook. We did read the other line a couple of times already, so I'm just going to set that aside because I do want to read The Sea Does Not Regret as quickly as I can. This one, if I recall correctly, is salt. Moon, a culmination. I can master this mystery. Okay, so in a minute we get Mr. Kill. With Mr. Kill, we're going to talk to him about the hail, we're going to talk to him about the astrolabe, and then we're going to feed him some tea. And then I think we're probably just going to cycle with the health, because I do actually need to restore my... I do need to restore my funds. We're not completely hurting right now, but if I want to hire Reverend Timothy to be able to get past the gloomy... Mr. Kill is the one to get past the... Oh, that's right. We've already hired him for what we need. But still, you can imagine situations in which I would want to hire one of the seasonal employees, and really, we only have enough to hire one person who's not Mr. Kill. All right, better now. So, meanwhile, rest and refreshments. This is going to be how I make money. And then when it comes to The Sea Does Not Regret, given that this gives us Pearl and Tide, we know that we don't need to worry about leveling anything up. We're just going to add that to the list. All right, let's have a chat about the weather. More useful than one might expect, especially in Britain. And we're fine in terms of the time, so I think we might hear the bells and birds when we finish the astrolabe, but we can still give them the tea. Now, usually, again, the way that I use this tea is to, especially this particular one, I usually use it to help Denzel get us higher up through the house, but I don't have metal yet, so in this case, I think it makes sense to give Mr. Kill a little more sky, particularly with this opportunity that we've gotten from the hail. I can lend my assistant something to help increasing their abilities. Better now. All right, so again, this is just going to be cycled in the Sweet Bones. It is a bit of a shame because, again, we have so many books that we've not yet cataloged, and really, on a given day, I'm really only doing about 2. But we just have other opportunities here, right? So that's the main reason why we haven't made more progress. Okay. The Sea Does Not Regret. Eason Fekri, one-time Secretary Salvant of the Curia of the Isle, responsible for the Curia's healing efforts, writes of his experiences in Brankrug and hints at his travels elsewhere. The sea does not regret the tide, Fekri writes, for when the tide has passed, it leaves its traces on the sand, which traces are the sea's memory. Fekri is a keen fisherman and speaks glowingly of the fish suppers of Brankrug. He also admits that his enthusiasm for the bounty of the sea has altered him, that before he came to Brankrug he consumed only things found in the earth. I was the greater thereby, but all of us give up what we were to become what we are. So that was in fact a salt memory and Pearl and Tide, so we will acquire that skill right away. Let's make a salt shelf. I think we can put it'll be a little one for starters. And actually, while I'm at it, Let's move foresight. I'm probably going to move around the library a little bit more often than in previous playthroughs, just because it's an opportunity for me to try and have a grip on what I don't know how I feel about this, actually. I think I'm going to keep this on the unread pile. I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing for us to have revelation in here. Yeah, we definitely have like an overflow for books that I can't read. I haven't really worked that out yet, but we're starting to get something resembling a filing system. So. Okay, Oriflammes, thanks you for your custom. So this is a pretty obvious one for us to read. I don't believe I have a scale text. Or sorry, I don't believe I have a scale skill yet. So I am going to have to rely on... I am going to have to rely on a little luck, but we'll see. This tool has boosted their aspects appropriately. So, cup of tea. Nice drop. I can offer my assistants something to drink. This will increase their aspects. They'll also be glad of the refreshment. So yeah, tomorrow I think we'll put the effort in on Mr. Kill. The only real question here will be if I need to make the effort to get the winter aspect, or sorry, the winter memory, or if he'll supply me one of them. But we can definitely set aside an element of the soul for that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in the time. Pearl and Tide, the depths of the sea, the waves upon the shore, and the memories of their withdrawal. Down to the Grecians. This has boosted their aspects appropriately. So I might as well chat with Mr. Kill. We don't have too much... Essentially, the only requirement that I have for today is that he opened the room before visitors leave. So in this case, we can maybe try and seed some of our memories for tomorrow. Particularly if we get something for winter. Now, I don't think there's any value in trying to earn any more money. I think I will be short the element of the soul. So we'll settle for the florin and then just make up the difference tomorrow. So really the last of this is just hoping that we get something that we can carry overnight with us. So basically, the ideal, of course, would be we get, you know, some miracle with 2 scale. Or heck, you know, a memory with 8 edge or something like that. But, you know, I'll settle for, you know, memory hindsight, or I think regret is something we can keep overnight. Yeah, because regret has forge. Not looking super encouraging as far as memories go, but it's not a deal breaker. It's just a question of, you know, giving up an element of the soul, which could have been used to catalog a book, but we are going to be a little more focused on earning money anyway, so we should be able to afford to restore the element when the time comes. Okay, the Gloomy Stair. This has long been a holy place. No, wait a minute. Wrong one. The Reeking Chamber. The room reeks like a rotting reptile. The curtains ripple restlessly with the watchful presences that Van Loren left behind. Perhaps I can find someone to sing them to sleep. And then I guess we need to pick what I'm keeping. So we have options. Our options are the Stolen Secret, the Memory Foresight, or the Memory Salt. The Memory Salt is a slightly tempting one just because it's a bit weird. But the funny thing is, when you think about it, I don't need the 1 winter, I actually need 2 winter. So I'm probably more inclined... So I guess I should think a little bit about Forge. So theoretically, if I were to hire Denzel, I would be hiring him to... Well, right now it would be to take the Gloomy Stair. This is actually less certain than I thought. I'm gonna punt and keep the Stolen Secret. So the reason I did that here is that this is the one that has 2 of a certain aspect, so I don't really have a Forge. Like, there just isn't anything I can really think of that I want to do with Forge right now. And it's not something that I can expect to get from the weather. So I have, however, had a couple of cases where I get a book with a moon requirement. And usually what I've done is I've either read something for a confounding parable, or I have, I've waited to get something like an intuition. So is it likely that I'm going to check out a book and it's going to be another 6 moon? No, that is not a very likely outcome. Is it possible? Sure. And so, I don't know, in my view, it's probably better to work... Essentially, where I'm thinking of this is it's better to work towards the things that I know that I can do. So because I have Magaphine Mysteries, I know that I can do a moon... I can research a moon book. We already have a level 4 forge book, but because Anbury and Lapidary is my only forge skill, and I don't have metal, essentially what I have is I have my skill, I have foresight, which gets me up to 3, and of course there's any number of chances, excuse me, there's any number of chances that can push us over the edge, but I don't actually have that one item to seal the deal on its own. We don't, for instance, have the mortar and pestle yet, or we don't have the spanners. So overall, it's like Forge can do some things for me. It's not as effective as it would be if I had, one more Forge to work with. So now if it really comes down to it, this is probably the first thing that I will read if I do want to take a chance on something. But we just have other things that we can do with the time, which is why I'm not that invested into reading things quite yet. Okay. I think... Just trying to think if I want to seed the start of this for the next stream or just leave it. I think I'm just gonna leave it. So thank you everybody for watching. I know it's a little... it's a little funny to do this so late. Like, it's 1 o'clock where I am, and I'm definitely feeling the week catch up with me. So I'm definitely gonna find somebody to host. Just an idea of what's gonna be happening for the next little while as far as streams go. So originally my plan for Monday was to kind of just do anything, right? Like just to kind of play. But it's my birthday, so like normally whenever I do that, I just kind of play a variety of games. But I suspect because House of Light is out and I really enjoy this game, it's probably just going to be another House of Light stream, which is absolutely not a hardship. But I know I did previously say I was going to do sort of a variety of things, and that may not be the case anymore. I don't know. I'll see how I feel on the day. One other possible interruption for the schedule is it is technically the third Wednesday of the month on the 17th. So that traditionally has been when the local game dev meetup happens. It's a local collective. I do like hanging out with them, and it is sort of how I find some interesting things that I do show on stream. So it is possible that on Wednesday, in fact, it's likely on Wednesday, I will not be broadcasting. If I do broadcast, obviously I'll announce it when I can, but likely not. And then on the 19th, on Friday, a week from now, basically the plan is for the foreseeable future, I'll be doing House of Light. Now, probably what will happen, I don't exactly want to burn out on the DLC before it's released. What I think I will do is I will do a bunch of streams with House of Light, and then once I sort of feel like I've done a good run of it, I might make that more of a, once a week sort of thing, or even sort of back off and let it cool down a bit. I will basically be playing this constantly on my own time, but like right now my beta testing is sort of playing this on stream, and the problem with that is that I haven't really gotten into a lot of the beta content yet, so I'm not a very helpful beta tester right now. So I think probably one way that I can probably serve those two masters is play this, record it, get everybody excited about it. It is actually available to wishlist if you've not done so already. I should do the proper influencer thing and include a link. Let me just take a second here. Of course, if you have the Perpetual Edition, this is something that you will be getting on your own. But actually, it also has a release date on that page. So it says 26th of September, 2024. So just 2 months from now. Oh, crap. Hang on. No, it is. Okay, yeah. So it says it does have a planned release date here. So yes, 26th September. I'm sorry. I thought I was looking at the... I thought I did... yeah, sorry. No, I thought I was looking at the wrong page for a minute. I was like, did I just announce a release date that I shouldn't have? But no, I took a look. It was... I looked at the wrong page, and then I went back and I just lost my mind. So no, someone can verify that for me, but I believe it is the 26th of September. I mean, again, I do say right up front, Weather Factory is the last word on any announcements or things like that, but I obviously don't want to be misleading, but yes, that is in fact the Book of Light page I was looking at. That was not another game. So it isn't just a vague, it'll be releasing in September thing. The game will be coming out in September, which does mean I should probably, my inclination, given that it is coming out so quickly, I am definitely going to play this as much as I can on stream. So... well, I'm guessing that's probably the time difference, because I know it's a UK-based developer. So, anyways, yeah. So that's the overall plan for the broadcast. So again, there may be an interruption next week in terms of Wednesday. I am most likely to play this on Monday, but I do reserve the option of, of playing. playing something else. And as far as hosts are concerned, nobody's on with Book of Hours right now, so I am going to send you over to Revived Snow again. Revived Snow is a Canadian broadcaster who does both a VTuber avatar and text-to-speech, currently playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. One thing that I was actually quite happy to see was they played Godless. That's Daniil Kalupa's game, formerly published by Brace Yourself Publishing, now basically a self-published game. But I was really happy to see, Prosciutto Fist and Revive Snow and It Is D-Pain and Vesper Fortune all support that game through broadcasting it. So wanted to send that out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think past a certain point, like I probably stopped being like excited about birthdays, shortly before I graduated high school. So, I mean, it's nice. Like it's a chance to just sort of mark an occasion. It's, as far as the broadcast is concerned, it's usually just a good excuse to not do the things that are expected, and traditionally those have been nice opportunities to just sort of see something new, and maybe find out whether or not people are into it. But honestly, I don't mind playing, I don't mind playing House of Light. I like this. So anyways, please do enjoy Revive Snow's stream and Pokemon, and until then, take care. See you Monday.